Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Huh? It's the house!
You know, that's just one step above stupid.
All right, there we go. Yes, the dogs are in their crates again, everybody. After running around the entire day, apparently when I put them in there, see, if we're not watching them, Clancy still pees on things, so we can't do it. All right. Yeah, hopefully it's a good episode. Who knows? Who the heck knows, man? But everybody's probably been following the, Savannah Guthrie's interview today. It's pretty interesting. Definitely new information in there. A couple little pieces of something to try to add in to a theory. It's pretty interesting. All right. Well, anyways, we're going to go ahead and on the, Nancy Guthrie interview, we'll just play it over here. Again, because not a lot of people watched the video that I made earlier today. So we'll go ahead and play it.
Take me back to the day. It was, I guess, a normal weekend for you.
Yeah.
The weekend your mom went
Thank you, Phyllis Watson.
missing. Tell me what you were doing and what happened.
Well, Mike, I had given Mike for Christmas a boys' trip to go play tennis, and so he had been gone for the weekend. So I took my kids actually to Carson's. So we had a beautiful, fun night together, and then I came home, and really it just got home at the same time that Mike came home. We were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around. And my sister called me, and
So this is in the evening.
I said, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" She said, "She's gone." And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, "Call 911."
Yeah.
She's like, "I did. We've called them. They're here." And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense.
I guess she does say that. Hold on.
Because the back doors were propped open.
So both back doors were propped open? I guess it does say that. I assumed in my head, I think, that it was just one door propped open. Because remember how there was one door that was left wide open? I bet you she's just misquoting that. That doesn't make sense to have two doors propped wide open. Unless maybe it was I mean, if they have screen doors, maybe, well, it's not. I was thinking maybe Nancy did that, but why would you do that? It's like cold out that time of year and in the evening. I don't know. She said back doors. We know. Yeah, we got it. She said 2 doors, though. Not just one. And there's only 2 doors, by the way. All right, so if you look at my, here it is right there. So this is what I'm just sort of building this little graphic thing with all the windows. And this is where the dining room table is. That's where the mahjong table was. And then the garage door there, but there's only 2 doors that they could be referring to, and it's this one right here on that little awning patio area, and then there's a door on the left side that was one that we just sort of discovered 2 days ago on the left hand side. So if both of those are open, that'd be pretty weird, and propped open, not like, oh, they opened and just left them open. She's saying that there was something, and I'm wondering why there wasn't a follow-up question about, well, what was propping them up? What'd they use? Well, they used a plant on one, and then did, that would be interesting, right? But we don't get that kind of information. Thanks, Alley Cake.
Medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open.
The back doors were,
The
back doors were propped open. Now, she could have just accidentally said back doors propped open, right? Because we already had heard that one of the doors was wide open. So it could just be that one of the doors was propped open and she just said it that way. All right? So don't take it as absolute truth that both doors were propped open. It's just something she said, but you can't say, oh, that's exactly the truth. Because she was just talking and, there might not be both doors. I would actually say I bet you it's just one.
And that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back. But her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things. And it just didn't make any sense. So, Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals. But
You
then
said that you
I'm
kind of
like, I'm
reversed
going to call the
yourself,
hospital.
Lola.
So then I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time. And it was just chaos.
Yeah.
And
No, I think they didn't choose the back door just because of the, just pragmatically. It's, if you took her out this back door, just think about this for a minute. Well, you're not going to lift her over a fence. Can we all agree on that? And then you'd have to somehow break through this gate over here as well, and then sort of get her over here somehow. It's just way further. It doesn't make any sense. Right there, you just park the car, come out the front door, and put her in it. That's what, I think they planned it that way. They, meaning, I just think there's one person. There could be more than one. I don't know. There's no evidence that there's more than one. And every single thing that's been done in the case so far that we know of can be done by one person.
disbelief.
Within hours, Savannah was making the long journey home to Tucson.
You saw Annie and Cam when you got
Yeah.
to their house. Tell me about that moment.
Just disbelief and
Yeah, and the front door is actually really close to her room, too. So if we were going to look at the, let me just show you. That's what you get on this channel, a little extra. The other ones don't do this kind of stuff because they just don't care. Let's do the, we're going to go ahead and load up that, I think it's pretty clear picture. This one right here, all right. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. So see that picture right there? Right after you come in the door here, and you walk the 6 or 7 feet to the door, then turn left in the house. That's exactly what you're looking at. So just look at it like this, right? And then we open up this image, and that's exactly what we're seeing. There's the fireplace right there. See, there's the fireplace right here. And then we know that there's a window on the other side of the fireplace and then a slider at the end here that goes out on that little deck area that you can get to also by exiting Nancy Guthrie's bedroom. So if you look at that, I don't think there's a way to get to Nancy Guthrie's bedroom at the end of this hallway. It's possible that there's a door down there. I just don't think there is. Okay? You could go out onto the slider. Like you could have moved her out here and then through this area and then out the front door off to the side over here. You could have done that. But I think it's more likely Nancy Guthrie's bedroom is right here, though. Okay, so it's right into the house. So I bet you there's a quick way that you can get to it out of that living room. But another, you know, interesting shot is this right here. This one is that same wall that we're looking at. Well, it's actually not the same wall, but it curves off of it. And I think the only way to get to Nancy's room is to come over here. And I don't mean curve. I mean it's a 90-degree perpendicular wall, this one, to the wall that we were just looking at down that left side. You know, so I think you have to go around the corner there, and then it gets into the bedrooms and so forth. So it's very likely that they, you know, they may have changed. I mean, I guess it's possible they could have changed their mind. But they'd already removed the camera knowing that they're going to be coming out that front door. So if they changed their mind, it would even be before they even went in the house. So I don't believe that. I don't know what, I think the reason they propped the door open back here was for an easy escape. In case somebody came in, they could just rip out that door, not try to open it, you know, and just go right out and then jump over the fence and they're out of there. That's what I think makes the most sense, given what we know. They could have also, when they, you know, they were going to go out the front door and then thought, maybe we can go out here, and then propped them open, but then, you know, went back to the pragmatic approach.
Hugging each other, and I think we were on the phone with the sheriff and trying to, you know, really make clear I mean, from the very early moments, you know, Annie and Tommy were saying this isn't that case that you are used to where someone wanders off. She can't wander off. Mm-hmm. My mom, she was in tremendous pain. Her back was very bad. You know, she was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not. So there was no wander off. And the doors were propped open. Yeah. And there was blood on the front doorstep. And the Ring camera had been yanked off. Yeah. And so we were saying, this is...
Do something.
This is not okay. Yeah. This isn't... Something is very wrong here.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about what possibly could have happened? Like, what could have happened? What went down? Did you...
I think my brother... I mean, my siblings are so amazing. Mm-hmm. My brother, you know, he spent his career in the military and worked in intelligence and is a fighter pilot and is brilliant. And he saw very clearly right away what this was. Yeah. And even on the phone, when I called him, he knew. He knew. And he said, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom. And I said,
yeah, I don't think it really takes like a genius, you know, when you see blood and, you know, she didn't take any of her stuff, that she was abducted. Immediately, you'd know that.
What? Well, why? What? And then, I mean, it sounds so, like, how dumb could I be? But I didn't want to believe. I just said, do you think because of me?
But hey guys, I know when we're watching this, if you guys have the ability to help support the channel relies on you guys. We need to get some channel memberships, super chats, etc. Maybe a few challenges going. See if we can get to, we're just on the 26th now. We've only got 5 more days left of the month, so try not to have it collapse right near the end. All right. Thank you.
And he said, I'm sorry.
They don't
sweetie,
keep
but-
saying, the police don't keep saying
Yeah,
she
maybe.
walked away.
But I knew that.
You did.
I hope not. I mean, we still don't know.
Yeah, I think she
honestly,
couldn't
we
say
don't know
something.
anything.
No.
We don't know anything. So I don't know
Yeah.
that it's because
Yeah, I would imagine what she propped the door, what was used to prop the door open would be something that would only the killer would know.
she's my mom and somebody thought, oh, that girl, that lady has money, we can make a quick buck. I mean, that would make sense, but we don't know.
Yeah, the whole thing about the immobility, people don't know how far somebody can actually walk if they need to. You know, she walked out to the mailbox. Well, the mailbox is over here. Okay, all she needed to do was walk from, to the car that was parked here. So it's a lot shorter than that. Not only that, I mean, even if it was around the block, she could probably do that if you forced her to. It's just the way it is. People just think, well, my mom could only walk 50 yards. And then therefore, we just have this wall. Boom! Right at 50 yards, forget it. Obviously people can do more than, what people say all the time. So you can just kind of go, well, she wasn't incredibly mobile. So somebody walked her out to the vehicle. Like if I said, well, hey, it was 55 feet, you'll get somebody to go, well, great, she can only walk 50, so there's no way. You know what I mean? You get those kind of people arguing those types of things.
Oh, but yeah, that's probably, which is too much to bear. To think that I brought this to her bedside. That it's because of me. And I just say, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to my sister and my brother and my kids and my nephew and Tommy.
I don't know. I just... I hope somebody told her, hey, you don't need... That's just not a really a thing to apologize for. She's been abducted because you're rich. I mean, that is ridiculous to... I understand her feeling that way. I'm just saying it is not her fault whatsoever, is what I'm saying. Thanks, Michelle H.
My brother-in-law, I'm like so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I don't think anybody blames you.
We want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom.
And you,
And language and depth and heart. And I feel like
Yeah, no, she's not, Susan, but I know that you're making this show all about yourself. That's why you would type something like that. That's what trolls do. She's making this all about herself. So what you're really doing is making the chat about yourself because it's such a ludicrous statement. You know what I'm saying?
we
Wow.
came
Unbelievable.
together with all these beautiful
But leave the
gifts
comment there so we
that
can all see
came
them.
from our mom and dad and from God, and somehow together
Piss off. You too, Susan. Go
did our
back.
best to
You sound like, I bet you're from another country.
come up with the words
We don't
to
say piss off over here.
And I haven't posted one thing or said one thing.
Hey, look at this, you guys. We got Phyllis Watson. Well, then your brain doesn't work very well, Susan. We've got Phyllis Watson sitting here. she's going to do a challenge. If you guys give 5 memberships, 1 membership by 5 people, she'll donate 5 all by herself. All right? Thank you. That'd be awesome. So we need, that's one of those challenges that helps support the channel.
That the 3 of us haven't decided together. It is surreal. It's, how is it possible that we are having to make a video speaking to a kidnapper who took an 84-year-old woman
Oh, Susan got a membership. Oh, God.
in the dead of
That's
night in her
Oh,
pajamas
jeez.
with no shoes, without her medicine. This little person. And to beg for mercy.
In the days that followed, multiple notes.
I felt really, you could tell that it was just really bothering her. I mean, obviously it would. I'm just saying. You know, it's also hard to do an actual interview where you're having to revisit this
Who
stuff.
took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night in her pajamas with no shoes, without her medicine. This little person.
Yeah, it's okay if you don't want it, but we can't give it back to anybody else, Susan. So do us a favor and just get the hell out of here, okay? And we're not blocking you, but just don't comment in here. You're not wanted, all right? Anybody that sits in a chat and bashes the victims of somebody who's murdered and tries to trash them and pretend that they, oh, look at them, they're making it all... You're a loser, okay? So get the hell out of here, all right? Thank you. You're an embarrassment. All right, so hey, guys, we need 2 more gifted memberships up there to reach the goal by Phyllis Watson. All right, 2 more gifted membership. You're an embarrassment, Susan. I'm just letting you know. No, I your mama's a loser. Yeah, what a stupid comeback. That's like right out of like some grade school handbook. All right, here we go.
Person. And to beg for mercy.
In the days that followed, multiple notes demanding payment were sent to various...
You know what I think is disgusting, Susan? That you came into my show and you made yourself available to be gifted a membership to steal one from somebody who may not have been able to afford it, that somebody was gifting one to. That's what losers do, okay?
media outlets.
The ransom notes or ransom requests came. Did you believe those to be real?
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that
Yeah.
came. And
Well, I've been a lot
I
more
think most
irritated
of
than
them, it's my understanding, are not real, and I didn't see them. But, you know, a person that would send a fake ransom note really has to look deeply at
I
themselves.
don't care, Susan. You're an idiot.
To a family in pain. But I believe the 2 notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Really?
That's weird, Susan. So you bought other memberships for other people on here, but never bought one for yourself, but made yourself available to get a free membership here. That doesn't make any sense at all. Why wouldn't you have just bought one? All right, but guys, we need one more. We need one more. All right, cool. Thanks.
When the
Aren't you embarrassed, Susan? Why do you think you would say something like you say Savannah's making it all about herself? That is such a just ludicrous thing to say, you know? Hey, look at that. We reached the goal there. You know? But anyways, Susan, thank you for all your incredible support. Goodbye. All right. Hey, thanks. We say howdy here.
Ring camera video surfaced and you could see who that person was.
Thank you, Phyllis Watson,
Tell me what
the
you thought
legend.
when you saw, legend. Tell me what
The
you thought
legend.
when you saw those images of the person who took your mother.
I mean, it's just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just totally.
Look at. Do you guys want me to see what Phyllis just said? Your personality sucks. I thought you have great ideas, but your online personality sucks. Hey, I do have great ideas, and my personality is the way it should be. Okay, you came in here, and Savannah Guthrie is pouring her heart out, like doing this interview, and just absolutely, it's a horrendous thing to have to go through. And you said that she's making it all about herself. That's what just absolute morons say. Okay, I mean, I'm just telling you. She is the victim in this case, right? She doesn't have anything to be sorry about, though. I don't understand where the hell you came from. That just seems like a bizarre thing to make a comment like that on my channel when you know that we don't do that over here. We've been saying this for a long time. So what made you think that was okay to say? I don't think any freaks in here think that was a good thing to say. There isn't anybody that's supporting you. Like, oh, wow, yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, wow. It's ludicrous.
Really terrifying. And I can't.
Like she's just trying to make
that
the whole thing not instead of, never mind. If you can't figure it out, YGA, then don't,
I can't. It's too much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we've said one time too, is can you imagine how freaky that would be to see that person in the middle of the night show up? When you're in bed and you're just sitting there and you get woken up to a guy wearing a balaclava. Man, that just would be so freaky.
And I'm glad and grateful to the investigators and the technology companies that were able to find that video. Mm-hmm. So I hope, at least with people of good heart and compassion,
I mean, I'd love to know what she knows.
Stop the irresponsible and cruel speculation that had started to swirl.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
I'm glad that people saw.
Yeah.
I guess it's my problem wasting my time talking to people who make comments like that. So sorry about that, you guys.
What came to our door.
Yeah. When you talk about the cruel speculation, the whispers, the innuendo, that it was
the still frame is just a thumbnail, I believe. Hold on, let me try to. Oh, there we go. Where was the part about the ransom? Where is that? Oh, there it is.
Ransom. And I said,
yeah.
What?
Okay, that was that one.
What? And then, I mean...
And where's the other one? Did she say... I thought she said that at the beginning. Right in here?
Ransom.
Yeah. This one?
Ransom notes or ransom requests came. Did you believe those to be real?
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that came. And I think most of them it's my understanding, are not real, and I didn't see them. But, you know, a person that would send a fake ransom note.
That's true, Bill. If anybody standing at the front of your bed in the middle of the night would be scary. But if it was Brad Pitt, maybe somebody like you, once you saw his face, wouldn't be as scared.
Really has to
Balaclava, you'd continue to be scared.
look deeply at themselves.
Yeah.
To a family in pain.
Although, why would
But
Brad Pitt be in the
I
middle
believe-
in your room in the middle? All right, so this is key right here. She says, "I believe."
The 2 notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Isn't that weird? I mean, I've said that many times on here, that I think that the first 2 ransom notes are, they believe that those were real. I've said that multiple times. You guys probably remember. That those are real, and the people who sent them in, they couldn't prove that she was alive because she wasn't anymore. Like, I think she passed away pretty much like that same night, maybe the next morning or something. And she just didn't make it, you know. They didn't have her medicine, they didn't have all kinds of stuff, and she probably just sheer stress of the situation, she just couldn't handle it. Like, because I'm not showing the interview, KK. Why can't I just play the audio and you listen to it?
Really?
It's not my video. I'm just doing
When
audio.
the Ring camera video surfaced and you could see
Jesus, always
who that
complaining.
person was, just tell me what you thought when you saw those images of the person who took your mother.
I mean, it's just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just totally terrifying. And I can't imagine that is who she saw standing over her bed.
Yeah, I mean, so there was the first 2 that were released. You know, that's one of the issues, though, that we have, is that one of them was sent to TMZ. So, you know, you think they're real, but why'd they send it to TMZ? Maybe they hoped TMZ would pay the ransom just to get the information. I don't know.
I can't. It's too much.
Yeah.
That seems like what a psycho would do.
And I'm glad and grateful to the investigators and the technology companies that were able to find that video. So I hope, at least with people of good heart and compassion, stop the irresponsible and cruel speculation that had started to swirl.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
I'm glad that people saw
Yeah.
what came to our door.
Yeah.
I mean, think how weird it would be to be Savannah and Annie and I forgot the brother's name at this point. Hey, thank you, Equicinco. Hello, when was D. Silla's ransom letter sent? I don't know. If this was one of the, it wasn't one of the first 2, though. It wasn't one of the first 2. His was like the 3rd, and it was sort of gotten on the, it was received on the side. That was not the same. There was 2 that the FBI got that we remember that. They got 2 of them, and there was some other person that they arrested. And then there was another one that kept sending stuff to the TMZ, but I'm not sure what the disposition of that one is. Huh? I don't get it, Gabe. But thank you, Equisingo. Yeah, that's a different person. So the one whoever sent the first two, I don't think they've ever found. And if they had found, wouldn't Savannah be... She might not even have talked about the ransom here. She's saying she believes those are real. And that's because the FBI believed that they were real. And apparently they didn't tell her that, oh, we changed our mind now.
You talk about the cruel speculation, the whispers, the innuendo that it was somebody in your family. How did you weather that?
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
And it piles pain upon pain. There are no words. There are no words. I don't understand. I'll never understand. And no one took better care of my mom than my sister and brother-in-law. And no one protected my mom more than my brother. And we love her, and she is our shining light. She's our matriarch. She's all we have.
Savannah and her family stayed together in Arizona for weeks as the media coverage grew more intense.
We had to move houses many times because people came and not everyone.
Yeah, so this is what the super chat was just about. Remember early on, this is February 5th. A man in Torrance, California has been charged with allegedly demanding Bitcoin from members of the Guthrie family in the wake of the disappearance of their mother, Nancy. Nancy Guthrie is believed to have been abducted. Kalea, or however you pronounce that, allegedly used an application to create a fake phone number to text the family, and the account was tracked to an email associated with him, according to the complaint. But I think the other two ransom notes were before this one. Or maybe this one was just before. I don't know. I mean, I actually think they said the first two ransom notes. Let's just see. The first ransom, yeah, see, look at the first ransom note in the Nancy Guthrie case was received by a local television station around February 2nd to 3rd. Shortly after, the note, which contained details about the abduction, was then passed to the FBI. So those are before that other one. Because remember, I think there was one on the 2nd or 3rd, and then the other one was on the 4th. I mean, they were right after each other. But hey guys, we're hitting one of those lulls again where it's going to be difficult. So if you guys have the ability to help support the channel, buy some channel memberships for people, super chats, etc., that would be great. Just hit one of those massive lulls and hardly anybody chatting, etc.
Disrespectful, unfortunately. You know?
Mm-hmm.
There was a night we had to leave in the dark in the desert, holding hands, me and my sister and brother and I, get into a car.
Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman.
Because the people outside were closing in. So
this is what it looks
we
like.
found a
You guys
place
have all seen
that
it,
was
right?
safe.
This looks like
and
that.
then we couldn't really leave too much. So like those days are a blur.
Yeah.
Crying and praying.
How did your family feel about the way the investigation was conducted?
Well, it's still going.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people have worked tirelessly. And we see that. But we need answers.
I wonder what he thinks about nanos, or she thinks about nanos.
We cannot be at peace without knowing. And someone can do the right thing. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And our hearts are focused on that.
Mm-hmm. I think
I was wondering what that sound was. Those are people in the when I was doing this originally. I don't think the second half really has much in it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Tell me about your mommy. Just tell me about her.
Yeah, I think the next half is just sort of about people. What she thinks about nanos. Yeah. Gray, why do you think this happened? Well, I think it happened because somebody wanted to remove, Nancy Guthrie from the home, but I guess why was that? I would think the number one option would be for ransom for, abduction for ransom. And then another one would be, some sort of a hit of some sort, somebody wanted to take her out and, affect Savannah Guthrie somehow. I don't think she was removed because, anything. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, really, the whole family situation. I don't think the family, it seems like at the beginning, it seemed like they were obviously looking into him. They had the car, pictures and everything taken in the house, but then they must have cleared them at some point. So Savannah, when she's angry, should be more angry at, if you're going to get mad at somebody, be mad at law enforcement for doing that. Because people just report on things that they know, Unless you're one of the live streamer YouTubers there, you'll just invent a story because it gets likes, views, and subs. But hey, guys, I just said it a minute ago, but if you guys could help support the channel, we are currently only at about a fourth of the nightly goal. So if you guys have the ability to help support the channel and you like what we do over here, that would be great. Tony's been super chatting on his phone for the past hour, all in Spanish. I think he's arguing with the brother-in-law. Yeah, maybe. Thank you, Phyllis Watson, again. I'm going to open up the phone lines, though, all right? So anybody can call in and you can talk about what you think. I think, though, it's interesting about the doors being propped open. That means they, hopefully they tested the items that the doors were propped up with. There's got to be some minuscule bit of DNA on those items. And, rocks, though, are hard. Find the crime scene weird, staged. Oh, you like it? Yeah, I don't know about when you say staged crime scene. I don't see that. But thank you. I think I did read the affidavit at one point. I didn't think it was. When you said it was weirded strangely, what do you mean? Yeah, I don't know. I think I read it one time, but I don't see it now. What's the great question? I'm not sure if you answered this, but Savannah was willing to pay for the ransom in the second deadline. Yeah. Why do you think the captor didn't follow through? Because I think I've actually answered that question multiple times on the show. But to be fair, I do these 3-hour shows. Nobody really has time to, watch a 3-hour show and catch every time I say something. But I've said that many times, and I think I'm one of the only people that interpreted the second video that Savannah made correctly, where she was really saying that we believe now that our mom is not alive. We understand that. If you could please, just let us know where she is. We need to have peace. We need to be able to celebrate her life with her body here. So we're willing to pay you to tell us where she is. And I think once they did that, the people probably, changed their mind at this point. Because now they realize that the people that are going to send the money and know that she's not alive. And it sort of just ups the game a little bit now, where I think they just wash their hands of the situation. Because they realize if you contact them and somehow get money, there's a good chance that you'll get caught. And when you get caught, in a case where it's a felony murder, where you abducted somebody in the commission of that felony, Nancy Guthrie dies, then you can get the death penalty and life without parole. And that's probably not something they were willing to risk. When she was alive, you might risk it because, you'd probably only get 15 to 20 years if you got caught. So the risk-reward element was much stronger. In this case, it's they just wouldn't want to do that. So there's my answer to that. Yeah, I just said that on the side. I just gave you that, Lola. So they received that the day after the abduction, so right away. So that's why that seems more legit, doesn't it? Like they're already demanding something. But they didn't demand it the normal way. They didn't tell people not to say anything. And but hey, guys, we're, having one of those nights. Well, I guess we're at about a third, so we're doing okay. We're not at a third of the 3 hours yet. Let's see. When was the second one? That's what we want to know, Lolo. See if you can find that. So that means either the door that's right under here, right in that spot, right there, there's a door that would obviously be back here. And then there's another door right there. So either one of those could be the one that was open. She said doors were propped open. I'd have a hard time believing that both were propped open. I think she just said that wrong. Yeah, I don't think people were really saying, well, it was made public, the late night on the first and then the second. It just seems like that's really quick to try to take advantage of something like that. Alright, well, let's try to do some. We can put the number on the screen if anybody wants to call in. We'll see if we can get this thing to work. There it is. Hey, Phyllis, you call it. Come on, you can do it. Turn up in a rental car with the trunk full of cash. Oh, they were going to do Bitcoin, Jim Lon, don't you remember? Why would you prop open both of them? I guess one opens inside, right? So does one door open inward and one open outward on the same door? I guess they could do that. This seems kind of weird mentally to say that, I guess. On January 11th, I think that maybe I was actually thinking maybe another motion, because my theory is that right here there's a camera right there, and that's the one that picked him up at 2:12 going into the home. So what if on the 11th that same camera picked up a motion that was late at night also, and apparently it's of a person. So maybe they were looking at that, or it could be that that other image that looks like it's a thumbnail actually. Yeah, maybe that's what they where they got that from. Hey, hold on a second. Right there, I got my little list. All right, right there. Yeah, so this image right here, the creepy one, I think that could be from the 11th. Seems like it is a different day, you know, based on, you know, there's absolutely no shadow there. That is a true thing. So when you see him come out here, it's pretty significant. Although, you know, it's hard to say. Like if he's back a bit, is it really the same type of shadow? So you see a shadow there, and if he was standing back there, would we see that? Don't know. You know, we don't see anything off of his foot going that way. And people have pointed out that maybe he's got different shoes on because of that dark spot there. You know, we have no way of knowing. It's so pixelated. Alright, you guys, let's try to avoid the massive lulls in here. We're trying to reach the goal again. If you guys could help support the channel, maybe do one of those challenges with the gifted memberships and super chats, etc. We're currently only about a third of the goal. We're getting close to our donation night. We've already given out $1,500 this month. I'd like to try to get to 4,000, but it's not looking good at this point. Confirms that the interaction inside was very fast. Yeah, well, I mean, I've said that the interaction inside's been fast. Now, I was wondering if they, you know, 212 to 228 is the time frame. And I guess I was trying to think of, well, let's see, 212, it picks up the motion outside. Maybe they didn't enter until 220, but then, well, I mean, wouldn't the camera have picked up another motion? I mean, this camera right here is going to pick up anything that happens in this yard over here. Right? I mean, that's what it does. And I think even, you know, based on the height of this, if you go down to probably like right in there like this, you know, it would actually pick up something over here in the pool area. Now, let's see. Alright, well, it missed the call. I tried answering it. Didn't work. What day is Friday that time? I guess maybe the second ransom note was the... Thanks, Allie K. Yeah, let's call it back. Hey, thanks KMTX and Alley Cake. What the heck? Hey, thanks Phyllis Watson. I'm too shy to call, but here's some money. Buy yourself something pretty. Anyways, thank you. Yeah, getting near the end of the month here. Thank you. Very kind, very kind. All right, who's calling in? You guys just call in and talk about the case. It's not hard at all. Just grab your phone, dial it in. It'd be cool if people started getting used to calling in, and we could just, I think it adds for a better conversation. I want to try the phone numbers. Yeah, but it's also long distance for you, isn't it? You should get one of the Google phones. Can't you just call anybody? I don't know how that works. Well, we want people to call in that are talking about the case. All right, so my, again, if you haven't seen my video, let me see if I can find that. I think it's number 19. Get rid of that. I don't know why, if that's it or not. That could be. Somebody sent me a message saying, "Who is this? You mean the same person you tried calling twice?" Yeah. All right, right here. So if you haven't seen this, this is just sort of a general theory. I don't know where the car actually parked, but this looked like a really good spot, to be honest with you. So this is the person represented by a sphere right here, right? And then he's walking around. And then here's Nancy Guthrie's driveway, and then goes up into there. He did come from over here. Maybe he was just looking around. We don't really know. We see him take one step and then go in. And then he removed the camera, removed it from the network. Then goes out to the street, and then walks this direction. Yeah, nobody doesn't like it when you call, Jim. I don't think anybody's ever said that. And then he goes back to the car. So, like, once you have removed the camera, this is just my theory that everybody on this channel's heard 100 times. But once you remove the camera or set out the motion sensor there, it's going to, you're wondering if it notified anybody. Hey, thanks Timothy Cecil. He's doing a $5 wave challenge, no lulls, begins now. All right, so then, he walks away for about 20 minutes to see if law enforcement shows up based on the movement at the front door. And they didn't show up. So now it's go time. And then after that, he's near his car. He gets back in his car, and then he drives the vehicle to Nancy Guthrie's house. I don't have the wheels turning or anything. It's just generically driving down the road. And then pulls into her driveway really late at night. Parks it right there. And then this time he's going to go around the back of the house. See, now there's a car parked there at like 2:08. Maybe 2:09. Then goes around the back of the house. And these walls are really short here. And then he climbs over the wall, and then boom, this camera right here picks him up at 2:12. And, at that time, we didn't know what doors were what. I'm just saying, he goes into the house at that time. And now he's confronting Nancy Guthrie in the home. and is going to remove her from the home. Now, here's that vehicle exactly where I think it was parked. And in a moment here, you'll see the person sort of walking with Nancy Guthrie out, you know, and then puts her into the vehicle. Now, maybe there is a second person that was driving the vehicle. You know, who knows? But anyways, then they get in the car and they drive away. I think it's that simple. Now, when they did the, you know, in the back of the home where they, you know, propped open the doors, I don't know when that was. They said, "Who is this?" After trying to call twice. I'm just going to block that person. Yeah. Yeah, what's this one?
Call from Timothy Cecil.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
There's that good audio again.
Timothy.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing. No, I was just gonna call in because everyone wanted me to, so I guess I will. But I mean, my theory's kind of been unchanged from the beginning. Well, it's not really mine; it's yours. Where it was like in a ransom gone wrong, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like that, but that's what you came up with.
Well, I mean, ransom gone wrong's a theory. That's just one that we brought up over here early in the case. But I mean, that's one that, you know, it's like one of the working theories that are out there.
Well, I just think it makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
Because like, why else would they take her out of the home? You know, because if it was like a sexual assault, it would just, or a robbery, you would leave the person there, even if they were like acting.
Yeah. Well, the sexual assault one is another reason why you take somebody, because you know, if you leave your DNA at the scene, everybody knows about investigative genetic genealogy right now. So that would be one of the other reasons why you would take somebody if you went in there for a sexual assault and then wanted to remove her. So that one still, you know, makes sense. It's I just don't know if it's. I mean, the part that's interesting to me is that they put the car out in the front because they knew that they were going to be taking her out of the home. I'm not sure sexual assault people think that far in advance like that. I mean, like that. It seems like you would go in there and go, "Oh, wait, I bet I got to get her out of here now." You know?
Right.
And then
I don't know. I mean, that theory to me is like probably the lowest. Well, not the lowest, but one of the lowest on there. My top two would be like a ransom gone wrong or something like that, or just like some type of just abduction. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
an abduction
like,
for
without a
punishment, like you're
Yeah.
trying to get back at Savannah for something, or you were like a stalker of hers, and you're like, hey, if I can hurt her really bad if I take her mom, something like that.
Yeah. Those are that's what I think the top two are for theories for what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it has anything to do with like immigration or
The Epstein files.
Political thing. Yeah.
It's not the Epstein files. I mean, people are so stupid, you guys. I mean, I swear to God, I keep getting, like, in the comment section, people go, "Oh, how convenient. Savannah was just going to be dropping names in the Epstein files." I mean, these people are insane, okay?
But what I don't understand is how can people tell what people are saying he's Mexican, but how do you like know that? I don't know how you can.
Well,
tell
I had
he's
somebody
Mexican.
today tell me, "Hey, come on, this guy is really hairy. He must have left some hair or something at the crime scene." And I said, "How do we know he's really hairy? Because he's got a goatee underneath a mask? Or, I mean, we don't know if he's really hairy or not." And it turns out they just think it's this one person. So, of course, that person's hairy, and then there's got to be hair all over the place, you know. But, you know.
Right, that's what people do. They try to find things to fit what they think.
Yeah.
I know you've said this before.
Confirmation bias is the term.
Yeah.
And
I've seen like It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. And then I've seen like people enhance the videos, but by enhancing it, I mean they add color. So that's absurd. That's not even really worth talking about. Because that's not even what the video looks like. So.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, do you think it'll be solved or?
I mean, I do. I mean, I think it's going to be solved pretty soon. I just, I don't have any evidence to back up that statement. It just, we were saying the same thing though during the Koberger case. Oh man, they don't have anything. Oh, these guys are, all they have is a car. Wow, that could be anybody's car, man. There's 50 million white Elantras that drive around. So I bet,
well,
and
I
then
think
boom.
the FBI has information that we don't know about, and they're working the case obviously. And if the sheriff just kind of stays out of the way, I think maybe they could solve it that way. I don't know.
Right.
I just don't have a lot of confidence that the sheriff is the main person heading up the investigation, because he doesn't seem like he seems like he's overwhelmed. So.
Yeah, he does. It seems like it's a little out of his. He wasn't planning on this, for God's sakes. He was going to be a sheriff in a small little town, a few, little things here and there, right? And then he was going to go golfing and go to the gym and drive around. And all of a sudden, he's got one of the biggest cases in U.S. history, basically, on his doorstep. Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, people are really giving him hell, but I don't know if it's really like that serious. But he's trying to do the best he can. It's just.
Yeah, I think it's been over. I mean, obviously, there's stuff he's done that's just been stupid as hell. Like giving the house back to the releasing the home a day later. That's absolutely insane in a case like this, especially when you see that there's blood around. You got to really treat it as almost like a homicide or something. But here's one thing you guys might want to look at is when they saw that blood there on the ground, they knew that she was alive when she was removed from the home. So that means, and they said that she was abducted and that she was alive. So I don't think, so they must also see that as like expirated blood, because if it's not expirated and it's just sort of dripping blood, you wouldn't know that for certain. So I think they know that she was alive when she was being moved down. That I hadn't really thought of that angle like that until just now. But
all right, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I just man, like just a lot of crazy stuff out there, man. So
yeah,
I just hope it gets solved. So
me too.
All right, well, I'll let someone else call.
Well, thanks,
in,
Timothy
but I
Cecil.
like this new system because it's way more clear.
Yeah, does it sound good on your end too?
Streamlabs. Oh yeah. It's like a phone call.
Oh, sweet. Nice. All right. Well, thanks for calling in. Have a good one.
Yep, no problem, man. See ya. Bye.
Right. Yeah, if you hear me on a call with somebody else, you can't call in at the same time. Let's see. Yeah, so let's see. What do we need here? I think we're still about 23 memberships short of reaching a goal. We only have 16. We normally do way better than that. Yeah, he'll probably be recalled. I wouldn't mind if somebody else took over. But I think he's, like I said before, I don't think he's very good. But I think the media and everybody's way overboard on it. And it's like, when and that's one of the problems. Like, if he was having press conferences about the facts of the case, people wouldn't be digging too much into, like, man, 40 years ago he was let go because, when there's no information, that's when people start looking into other things that are really not related. How does bashing and, Santos or Danos or Dano, whatever the hell his name, not Santos. What the hell's his name? I don't even remember what his name is now. It's like it doesn't do anything. It doesn't help find or put the pieces of the puzzle together. It just means that they suck. Are you guys even still here? The chat just is dead. Nobody's typing again. Yeah. Yeah, I think the FBI is way better. That's what I've said that many times. Nah, I don't agree with you, Lisa. I think everybody's piling on right now and they're making it into that. Let's see. Yeah, someone else call in. Yeah, so the person I was talking to, they said something about that they talked to this FBI person and apparently like they have no information. There's no evidence whatsoever. And that I don't know. It's hard to ever like know what the hell's even true. The phone number's right there. It's on the screen. You see it? It's been on the screen. Thanks, Kami. I think we might need about 2 more challenges in here to get to the goal tonight. Yeah, I talked about tracks a million times.
Call from Sally. To accept, press.
Hello.
Hi. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, yeah.
Okay. So the number wasn't up for a while, so now the number's back up.
Okay. This is 5-Fay, 5-Fay, 5-Fay. Right? Turn off the audio. Hey, wait, come on. You turn off the audio from the video. You're just on a phone. You're not waiting for the show to start talking. You know.
Oh, yeah. How about
Jesus.
that?
You got to just turn off the... You can't watch the video at the same time. You just got to talk.
Okay, there you go. I thought it was low enough. So I'm going to go back to your perspective that, you know, people shouldn't hone in on a particular suspect or a particular angle, and I don't agree with that. I think that that's how you solve the case. You have your own particular way of doing things, which is, you know.
I never said that not focus in on a suspect, but you focus in on somebody that's not even like like we don't know if they're a suspect or not. So your suspect isn't necessarily a suspect. That's just somebody that you think did something. You can do whatever the hell you want. I never say for law enforcement not to focus in on somebody.
Okay, so I think however people are using their minds to try to figure this thing out, I think that's fine. It's no harm. I'm not on the internet. I'm just bouncing some ideas off of someone who's has some experience with this, which is you. So I'm just saying that because, and I'll help you out with his name, Nanos.
Yeah, I know his name, but you know it's funny. It's like
I'm just
sometimes I just can't. Like I could say his name 100 times in a day, and then right at a moment, I can't remember it. I don't know if it's like me getting older or what the hell's happening. But.
Well, I've never heard the name Nanos before in my life, but you know, because there have been issues with the investigation, and people are watching him making errors, and that people were let on the property, etc., I'd say probably the weakest link to finding the suspect and finding Nancy is probably related to the mistakes that were made with how the house was handled. So, you know, in my particular case, I feel like this particular person that I think is responsible for taking her has a very hairy body. So
Yeah,
in my
but I mean, the thing is,
but no, I'm just saying, like, let me have
I know.
let me have my idea here.
I know,
Let me
but
finish my
but
thought.
you always think that they didn't seal it up later and then collect everything, you know.
No, I'm just saying that I know that early on, I'm pretty sure it was Brian Enton who walked onto the property, you know, and there have been other people who've just walked across the property, walked in the front door, walked across the front porch, walked in the entrance, and they weren't wearing anything over their shoes. So if there was a hair somewhere where there was a struggle at the entrance or in the bedroom or wherever, I mean, this particular person, just let me have he's got hair that's like 2 and 3 inches long on different places on his body, his arms, his legs. And I can understand where his cuffs were rather tight and he had the gloves on, not losing hair that way, but not when it came to the looseness of his pants. Because, you know, I've seen pictures of the suspect without pants on.
Well, it's not a suspect. It's just somebody that you think has something to do with something.
Well, yeah, at one point, yes.
Well, he was never even a suspect at any point. He was just maybe somebody a person of interest that they looked at.
Right, a person of interest, excuse me. But because the pants, if you can see the perp in, you know, entering the porch area, and you see how loose his pants are. So with the pant leg riding over his leg from walking back and forth, well, his pants weren't tucked in to his socks. You know, it's likely he just had a pair of socks on, and that, you know, any of the hairs could have dislodged in his pants and gone down his leg and onto the ground or, you know, someplace within the house. So I'm just pointing out, you know, I find that if there's any gap in where there should have been more intensive follow-up, it has to do with, you know, the DNA evidence. I'm not saying they don't have his hair in evidence, but
or somebody's hair in
you
evidence.
Would think
right?
they're right.
Yeah, but the way you always word stuff is like it's 100%
I know,
that
but
person.
I have the luxury of that. I'm no expert. I'm a nobody. And I'm not a YouTuber.
Well, you're not a nobody.
But,
you're a person. I mean, you know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I just think like the traction over his leg and like the length of his hair and that sort of thing, it could have easily fallen onto the ground. So that would be something, you know, that you would have expected if there was that type of DNA evidence, that we'd be hearing something sooner than now.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if I'm shedding leg hair during the day too much. I don't know how that works, but, you know, you have the little pants on and you're saying, oh, look, it rides over the legs. So surely hair could have got on the sweatpants and then sort of made its way out to the ground somewhere.
I think he has khakis on.
Or whatever it is, you know, whatever he's got on.
Right.
You know,
right, which is an open leg pant.
I think they look like more like exercise pants, not sweatpants, but you know.
Well, the one thing I don't know. I think they're khakis.
Well, it does have a pocket,
but,
so I don't know. Maybe it just could
right.
be anything.
Well, I mean, as opposed to like a pair of pants that when you walk, because of the cut of the pants.
They're probably not exercise pants. They're probably just, I don't know. They almost look like worker pants, kind of like a.
They just look like cotton, worker cotton pants. But they're large enough. They're not tight against him, so I don't really see how they would pinch, his DNA back and keep it from leaking out the bottom of the leg. So it's entirely possible that there's all sorts of, you know, DNA there that we just, you know, we don't know about. But I guess everyone's getting kind of irritated that there hasn't been an arrest and expect that they'll pick up the DNA and figure it out. But then, of course, if it's a DNA that's unfamiliar, you know, and they can't really match it to anyone through genealogy because there's no close relative, that sort of thing, then that's a whole other thing. In itself.
Well, tell us some of the other stuff that you think. I mean, I showed some of your stuff that one time, the overlays and everything.
You did, right. Which is probably not such a good idea now, but I've always been very interested in, I know how you just walked the ball down the street and that's the suspect and all of that, but what were the ways out? I know one time you showed, you know, if you took a right-hand turn and you drove out, how many different ways are there out of that neighborhood?
I mean, yeah, a million, really. I mean, you could go jump over the fence, walk through people's yards. You can go to the street over there, go over there. You know, there's just so many different ways that you could leave. We've gone over that before. I even have that blue line, like an actual route that makes it over out to a street over there.
So where's the house right now from what you're showing?
It's right here. So that place that I had that little car park was right there. You know, and then you know, whatever. When they leave, you could come out this way, and then you make your way right back out on to the street here, the Glove Street, and then it does sort of head towards, you know, where that person lives that you always talk about.
Right.
You know, except you'd have to take another left here, and then that street that had that other surveillance that came out recently with that other...
Like run it.
That car, that road goes
like
right there, basically. Yeah. Well, there you go.
I think when you said he could run out of the back of the house and they could run over to the place where he parked the car, I still think there'd be a chance that the police would see him do that. I think he planned on running out the back door and running into the desert.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That he knew he could run to, right?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be an escape. Like, only if he needed to escape if somebody showed up once he was in there.
Right,
You just
with
jump
the car outside.
Yeah, so that would be, I guess that would be a problem for him. You know, he'd probably get caught somehow because the car would be there. But you just didn't want to get caught right then because you're surely going to get caught physically, your person, if you go out to your car and somebody's there. Like if cops showed up later, you know, you're just going to get busted.
Which leaves the other possibility that you haven't entirely eliminated, which is that if there was someone else that was picking him up.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility that somebody was driving the car, and then maybe that is a walkie-talkie, and they said, "Hey, I'm ready to go," and then you know, maybe the other doors were open up just for the possibility that the person might park in a different place, and he just didn't realize, you know, the other car.
Right.
Except it seems like they would have already talked about it. So you'd say, yeah, just pull right up in the front of the house there. And that's why you remove that camera. So I just think the back door was propped open for just an easy, just sprinting escape, not having to stop, pull the handle. Kind of waste another 3 seconds. You can get quite a ways in 3 seconds. So there you go.
So the possibility of someone else being involved also leaves the possibility that, you know, someone else would tell or so.
Yeah, I just think it's more likely that one person did this.
Right.
I think, I mean, just because that's all we know currently is that there was one. We don't have any other information other than that. And everything done could be done by one person.
Except for the ransom.
What do you mean? You can do ransom by yourself. What do you mean?
Well, I would think that knowing to call TMZ and then
Maybe the person knows all that stuff. You know,
trying to work out Bitcoin and all of that.
Yeah, wouldn't the guy that you think it is know how to do some of that stuff? You'd think.
Well, first of all, I think anyone who's lacking intelligence enough to do a ransom, you know, I'm not giving the guy a lot of credit because I think that it's a, you know, pretty ridiculously dangerous, horrible thing to do.
Well, it's weird as if this person never really wanted to get a ransom. Like, they knew that they weren't going to get one. Then you think, man, well, why the hell are you sending in? You just want, because then you send it to TMZ just for the popularity of it, just to be like, hey, look at me, everybody. You know, it's kind of weird.
Unless it has another twist to it, and that is, you know, to accentuate the suffering. Of the victim and the family.
I guess.
Which is a whole other thing.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other theory from earlier, is that the person went in there just to abduct her to exact revenge against Savannah, maybe either a stalker or for some other reason. Right?
Right.
All right.
The other...
You keep having these long, pauses, so it's like, I don't know what you're doing.
I hope, well, I was thinking, I do hope that somehow that all of the new information or things that have been studied will, you know, eventually end up in people searching for her more actively.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I mean, if they harmed her and she didn't survive, you know, would they try to, you know, break free of having her body quickly? You know, would they do it locally?
Yeah, I think they just want to quickly get rid of her. But I think they would have thought about it to make sure that she wasn't, make it harder to find. Now, if it was somebody that was doing this for, like, a hired hit for a future life insurance, or, you know, the inheritance or something, well, then you just sort of would put her somewhere at this time of year, and then in the spring when people are hiking and stuff, they would find her, and then, oh, hey, look, and then she's reported dead, and then, you know, then all those wheels start moving forward. But I don't know if that's, you know, that's not one of the ones that seems more likely at this point.
Right. I'm concerned that it was something quick where, I don't know, I mean, I even hate to talk this way about it, but that they would, you know, put her in a dumpster or something behind a grocery store, that sort of thing. And then, of course, no one was thinking that she was missing in that way. They thought she was an elder person who walked away from her home, and so no one was checking behind grocery stores, you know?
Yeah, except there, but you wouldn't need to check behind there because that's not what happened.
No, I'm not saying... okay, well then what happened? What happened?
Well, she was abducted. Well, she was abducted and taken somewhere. She didn't wander away and go under, you know, behind a grocery store.
No, I mean, if she passed that night, if she passed away in the middle of the night during the, I mean, wouldn't someone, everyone keeps saying now that it's a local person. So wouldn't a person who was local, and they keep talking about how they're only available on Saturdays because they probably work during the week. So that's why they were there on the 11th and the 20-something. And then, so, you know, if they're in a hurry to separate themselves from her because they've harmed her, you know, what would be like an easy thing to do, which would be to do something like that, and then, you know, and then the people who come and pick
but you
up,
wouldn't want her to be found that quick if you needed to just like, oh my God, we gotta, you know, completely wash our hands of this thing, and you're not just going to throw it behind a grocery store, you know.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, what have you thought in that direction? Like,
Yeah, I just thought
would
they
somebody
probably
do?
way out in the, you know, I actually have thought that they took her up in like this mountain range up over here and did something with her.
Where they shoot the guns and all that.
Or just somewhere, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You're not going to want to be driving around in really populated areas too long with her anyways in the car.
Right.
So you can probably try to find a place that's a little bit more secluded quickly.
I bring this up because this is what the Guthries want. I mean, this is their focus, right?
Yeah, they want to know where
They've
she
had
is.
A great deal of acceptance, and then, you know, getting to the point of saying, well, at least we would like to have her back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just saying, you know, this is something I think for anyone who's interested in you know, any local people who are interested in this and in searching. I think it's, you know, I do think it's time for people to start searching. I know there's the whole aspect of of whoever's the suspect, whatever.
Right.
And what gun shops to check and all of that. But I do think it's, I'm not sure how many people are looking for her actively. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess one of these days we'll figure out if your person of interest
Theory.
turns out to be somebody.
Right. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks. See ya. All right. 5A. Let's see. Oh, wow. Jeez. Phil's is going to do a 10 for 10er, you guys. I mean, this is another one of those shows whenever I say, hey, guys, it's just dead as a doornail. But we've got a challenge in here. If you guys put in 10 individual, like it could just be a $5 or a gifted membership, she'll donate 10 all by herself. So if you guys just do one, so there's one by Alley Cake. 9 to go. That'd be awesome. And these are all gifted. They can be gifted memberships or they can just be super chats. Yep. And thanks for calling in. That would be cool if it turns out to be the person she thinks it is. We talked about it the other night, you know. And there's 5A right there. Thank you. God, it's just so weird, isn't it? Just sort of taken right out of a house right there. And then driven somewhere. And interestingly, all of the sort of searching and FBI stuff, everything seems to be right around in this area. You know, even when the helicopter flew around with the Bluetooth sniffer, it went right in the area. Why would it do that? It's almost like they just... I'm almost getting the feeling now that they've struggled even been able to track a vehicle too much, you know? Like, I've always thought that they could see the lights on cameras through the trees and know, okay, there's the vehicle. We can't see it very good. And, you know, and the problem is a lot of people don't have the 24/7 cameras. They have the motion-activated ones. And almost every single one of these houses have almost no view of the streets whatsoever, which is terrible in this case. All right, guys, we got 4 of those. We need 6 more gifted memberships out there. Can the freaks do it? And then I saw this the other day. There's another house that was under construction more recently. This This one was still under construction like late last year. So these people might have noticed that a little bit more. I mean, this one's from 2 years ago. Yeah. I saw you said I get a kick out of Gray. How do you get a kick out of me? Las Vegas man. Yeah, we're just gonna freeze right at 4. You guys were it was working good. It was working good. You guys were really getting the memberships gifted, and then God, it's amazing. Yep, we need 6. Okay, there's one. Hey, another one from 5. And there's Elizabeth Brown. All right, just 4 more now. Very cool. The iguana is making lasagna. Not sure what that means. Oh, that's the house that is still under construction? Even that one right there? That's the one? So it's like it's vacant then. Is this the vacant house then? Is this the one? Is that the one that everybody's talking about? That is sort of a vacant... Well, that'd be interesting then. That night, maybe the car parked over here. Because it's really not far away at all. It's just that one street over from where I had the parking. I guess we could sort of figure that out. Okay, we need 4 more though, you guys. Let's just measure this stuff. That's only 0.18 miles. That's nothing. Not even a quarter. Oops. Yeah, didn't need that. Well, we'll just have to ask again, you guys. We need 4 more gifted memberships. If you feel like I do a good job on these shows, I would appreciate it. That's all I can say. I don't have any other sales points. We also donate thousands of dollars out of the income that comes in to the channel each month. We've already given $8,500 out this year so far. We're, $1,500 this month. Right, so we still need 4 more gifted channel memberships. All right, thank you. It could just be 4 $5 super chats is the same. Actually have that guy that 5 her suspect guy, her person of interest it just popped up on my screen over here. Wow.
My mom she's incredible. She's resolute and strong. Quiet strength. Quiet faith.
Thank you, Tracy Von Brott. 3 more.
Hard fought. She's funny and a little mischievous, I would say, in her humor. She's a noble creature. She does what's right. She walks in faith, but not a fake, pious, put on faith, but like a grounded, earthy, she fought for it faith.
When you posted Please Pray in the beginning, the ocean of love and prayers, did you feel that? Did you sense what was happening?
I do feel prayers, you know, I do. I believe that. I think she would have been just amazed. Just truly amazed.
One of the images that stayed with me through all of this was you and Annie and Tommaso walking up and looking at the flowers and at the notes. As I saw that, I thought, oh, I wonder if Savannah's going inside, and what that must have felt like for you to go inside of your mom's, your childhood home, your mom's house.
Yeah, I mean, this is the house that we grew up in. It's really the only house I've ever known and remember.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting looking at some of this. You know, like that's the same pool. Is that Savannah right there? I mean, this must be like, you know, 40 years ago or something.
So we moved there when I was,
That's probably all three of them. Well, I don't know. These are just a bunch of friends, I guess.
I think.
Maybe that's the brother. Yeah, it's weird looking at that because that's just going to be... All right, you guys, I don't want to have to keep asking, but if we could just get the last three, get the memberships, that would be great to get to the challenge that that we got above by Phyllis Watson, who's going to donate 10 memberships all by herself. If we just get 3 more individually gifted ones, should be a no-brainer. Yeah, so they were running right here in that video, just like that. So it shows you this has just been there for a long, long time. Where'd it go? Oh, yeah.
It's the house where I came home on a Friday night at 16, and my mom and sister were on the couch praying and told me that my father had died. It's the house where all of our memories are, good and bad. So it's hallowed ground. My mom loved and treasured that house.
Thank you, Carol.
In good years and lean years, they were able to hold on to that house. That's my mom's safe haven. It was really hard to see that violated, and the terror that she must have felt is unbearable. It's unbearable.
Tell me.
I mean, that is just the worst part, yeah. Like, you have somebody missing, and you know they went through absolute horror and terror, and you don't even get to see him again to, like, oh my God, you know, and try to make him feel better. And that's sort of like, you know, Abby and Libby, right? They're walked away by Richard Allen. And just sort of, you know, they were scared out of their minds the whole time they're walking, and then the person actually kills them both. So it was really horrible for them. I mean, I think it's probably almost the identical feeling. You know, in the Abby and Libby case, I always say that they're sitting there. First of all, they thought maybe they were gonna meet this kid, but it turns out it wasn't that. It was a you know, a monster. And as he was coming towards them, they were really kind of freaking out. You can hear it on Abby's voice, and they got scared, more scared, more scared, more scared. And then, you know, normal life, when we have those scary moments, it dissipates immediately because, that was just in my mind. Oh, God, that felt, she's like somebody's walking up behind you, and they just walk on by. But you had that panicky feeling. But in their case, in Abby and Libby's case, they had that feeling, and it just got worse and worse and worse, and it never went away, and they ended up being killed. So imagine the horror and terror that is just absolutely, I mean, I can't, it's hard to even think about how freaked out they were that whole time. And then they actually end up being killed. And that's sort of what happened. That's what happened here. You know, she got removed. She's alive, and she's probably not alive anywhere right now. We just don't know yet. But hey, you guys, we need 2 more gifted memberships to reach the goal that, or the challenge that we just got up above by Phyllis Watson.
While you were spending all this time in Tucson, your kids were home. What do they know?
Well, it's so hard with kids because, you know, you want to protect them. Dale would write me all the time, Mama, any leads?
Hey, Sandy. How's it going?
Do you hear anything? You know, any hope? And I think that, you know, we tried to talk to them and try to give them a little more certainty than we have, to let them grieve. And for my little nephew Olmo too, you know, there's just a way in which this is even so much harder. And Annie and Tommy.
I'll tell you what, if you guys do the other 2 that I'm talking about, I'll donate 5 myself, all right? We just need the 2, and then 15 memberships will be donated.
And Olmo, because they're there.
They're there, yeah.
And they were there every day for my mom. They made it possible
I never
for
saw
her
one,
to
Jim.
stay
Nothing was
in the
deleted.
house we grew up in that she loved so much. I think she always stayed in that house because I think she still felt my father there. All our memories. You know, let her have her space. And there's just a way in which this is just even more excruciating for them and all that they've been through.
I know it was a hard decision for you, and I know you told me about this, was coming back here, leaving Arizona to come back to New York. Why was that so difficult, that choice?
I brought up Abby and Libby because it's a good comparison, Smoky Mama. You seem really kind of dense to not realize the comparison there. You know, it seems really odd. Yeah. Have you ever looked in the mirror? You're the one that seems really odd. Why even bring up Abby and Libby? That's odd. What a stupid comment that is. I thought it was a great comparison. It's the same feeling. They were kidnapped at the end of the bridge, and they ended up being killed, and that's probably exactly what happened to her. You know, they're just young, but they were at gunpoint by a person, etc. All right, so go use your brain somewhere when it's working. Thank you. But hey, guys, we need 2 more gifted memberships, you guys. I hope that's not too much to ask. We're just trying to get to the challenge met by, Phyllis probably already went to bed. It's been so long. It's crazy.
I looked out the window of the airplane and just thought, where are you?
Yeah.
Hey, there we got one by Sandy. All right.
That desert, that beautiful desert that she loves. So where are you?
Yeah.
How could I leave you?
Need 1 more.
But my mom taught me a lot about grief. Our family knows grief. My father passed when I was 16 years old. He was only 49. It was a shock. And I remember my mom saying in those early days when Daddy died, like, you have to get up and decide and do. Just decide and do. And I'd read that in a book that meant a lot to her and her grief.
I kind of want to listen to the beginning part again.
Came home, and really it just got home at the same time that Mike came home, and we were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around.
No, Jason, we're just
And
trying
my
to get
sister
that final
called me,
goal, that
and
number.
I said, is everything okay? And she said, no. She said, Mom's missing.
The phone was up there for a long time.
And I said,
We need
"What?
one more gifted membership.
What are you talking about? She said, she's gone. And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, call 911.
Yeah.
She's like, I did. We've called them. They're here. And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back. But her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things. And it just didn't make any sense. So, Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals, but then I'm like, I'm going to call the hospital. So then.
Hey, thank you. 5A5. I guess Phil Watson was still there. I wasn't sure. It was crazy how long that one took. Unbelievable. Thank you. Welcome all the new freaks out there. Yes, thank you, Phyllis Watson. All right, there's another 5 too. There you go. And thanks up there to 5A for doing it. You put 3 of them in there. That was nice of you.
I started.
All right, there's the phone number again if you want to call in. I don't know why my phone just keeps beeping. Doesn't make sense. I'm going to have to put it on Do Not Disturb. Anyways, thanks so much up there, Phyllis Watson, for your support. You did a couple of other bigger ones earlier, too. You passed out.
Calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time, and it was just chaos and disbelief.
Within hours, Savannah was making
Yeah, the freaks gift a lot of memberships.
the long journey home to Tucson.
You saw Annie and Cam when you got
Yeah.
to their house.
Did you go fishing this morning?
Tell me about that moment.
Just disbelief and hugging each other. And I think we were on the phone with the sheriff and trying to, really make clear from the very early moments, Annie and Tommy were saying this isn't that case that you are used to where someone wanders off. She can't wander off. Mm-hmm. My mom.
Yeah, she couldn't go very far, but
She was in tremendous pain.
Yeah.
Her back was very bad. She was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not.
Did you catch any big ones
So
today?
there was no wander off. And the doors were propped open.
Yeah.
And there was blood on the front doorstep. And the
See, they did notice the blood on the front doorstep. Somebody earlier said they didn't notice it. Their family did notice it. You know, they did notice it.
And the doors were propped open.
Yeah.
And there was blood on the front doorstep. And the Ring camera had been yanked off.
Yeah, and they called within 7 minutes of being there. You know, remember how early they said, wow, how come the family waited an hour before they called? Well, it turns out that was bogus information.
And so we were saying, this is...
Do something.
This is not okay.
Yeah.
This isn't... Something is very wrong here.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about what possibly could have happened? Like, what could have happened? What went down? Did you...
I think my brother... I mean, my siblings are so amazing.
Call from
Jason Bourne.
All right, Jason Bourne, what's going on?
How you doing tonight?
Not too bad. We're using the newer phone system.
Yeah, your voice is coming through crystal clear, by the way.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, yours is clear too. So it's way better than... I mean, it's convenient to do the... Like, if Raven wanted to call in, I could put the... You know, I could do the StreamYard link for him, because it's... You know, people live in Australia probably don't want to call in a show a long distance. But anyways, what's going on?
Well, you know, for starters, as we all know, we heard the new information today from Savannah, and we heard her account, and it was heartbreaking to hear. I just, when I listened to that, and I just thought to myself, it's still hard to believe how people can victimize the family like that at this point. But, it's something that I would not wish on anyone at all. One of the things that stood out to me, there were several things that stood out, but one thing in particular was that she remarked that she did believe the 2 ransom notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of thought that. Like I always said that I think they believe that those first 2 were real. I've been saying that the whole time.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's something that, when I first signed on to this channel and learned that was your perspective, to me it's always made the most sense, just right off the bat. But it brings up some questions that I wanted to ask just to get your perspective on. And the first one is that, so it's reasonable for us to believe when she says that she really did believe it, that she actually did, and that she's not lying. I really do believe that she did believe that. And so, when the FBI approached her with the ransom letters, and that presumably that they had vetted, because they weren't going to go to the family with hoaxes, after especially what they were going through. So they vetted these letters to her, and presumably they coached the family on responding back to the ransomers. Was that what you got out of that?
Yeah, I think that the first 2 that they helped them word it. Mm-hmm. For sure. I think even all of them, to be honest with you. I think because there's some wording in there. There's wording in there that you hear FBI people use a lot. And but people wouldn't usually use those.
I agree. And this is what was strange to me about it, was so that is she really... So first of all, if the FBI really believed the letters enough to the extent that they brought them to her, and then she believed them to the extent enough that she was willing to go and on public TV and make a statement, make a few statements, does that suggest to you that ultimately what must have stopped her from paying the ransom was because the FBI advised her not to do it?
Well, it could have been, but they didn't proof of life might have been why they didn't have her do it. Like if she's not alive, do you really want to pay? I mean, I guess that she said that we're willing to pay for the peace that they would get by, just knowing where her body is. and they just didn't do it, you know. So I don't know why that you know, I mean, in that case, it seemed, I don't think they heard back from him. That's what I think. I think what happened is they were maybe going to pay. You know, I think Savannah said that we're willing to pay for the piece, just let us know where her body is, and they never heard back from after that, because I think they probably thought in their minds, okay, man, the FBI is going to be, once we send this next one, they're going to have something in place that might track us, and now that Nancy's not alive anymore, then, you know, we're in huge trouble if we get caught, or we're going to get the death penalty. So they just went, screw this, and put her somewhere and took off. That's how I look at it.
And that makes sense, you know, that they, for example, just thought that they were going to get caught, you know? I mean, that would make the most sense out of it all, because was it true that the photo had already been released that time of the porch perp?
I don't think so.
Okay,
that
so
kind of came out later.
that.
Yeah, that was. I don't even think. What date did that come out? It seems like that came out like after like the 7th or 8th, or you know, like later than that. Much later.
I think it was a little bit.
Maybe
I think it
10th.
was a little bit. Yeah. So it just what strikes me is so strange is that they would go to her and they would say, we have this credible letter, and that this is what the letter is saying, and these are the deadlines in the letter. And then essentially it sounds like what they told the family was that although the letter is constructed this way and it is giving you an avenue to respond, in other words, it's saying, we want you to respond by putting the payment at this Bitcoin address. That is the response that was being requested from the ransomers.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably that's why the address was in the ransom note, so that they could know how to pay. But my point in that is that, so the ransomers, or the FBI had validated that was a legitimate wallet. It was a real wallet. So they knew that it was real, but in the end, there was some type of information. I guess what I'm trying to say is that when the family had said, we want to pay and we're willing to pay, and the ransom letters are instructing them how to pay, that then the FBI intervened and said, well, we know what it's telling you to do, but we don't want you to follow that protocol. We want you to reach back out to them and try to open up a line of communication.
Well, I think they're trying to catch the person. I think that's what the whole deal is. I think that's why and I think there was too much information put out there by people, because remember people were saying that, well, they could have just uploaded, paid, put $20 in that Bitcoin account, and as soon as the person clicked on it, you'd be able to tell where they came from, an IP address or something. So that was out there, and then they probably went, well, shit, I'm not going to, I thought this crypto stuff was secure, but apparently not now, so screw this,
Yeah, that was the part that was confusing to me, is that, they could have put the money in the account. Like the FBI could have said, we know where the wallet is, and we have a good handle on the technology with that wallet. So we're just going to go ahead and encourage you to tell them to put the money in the account, and then go on to national TV and let them know that you've done that, and that you're waiting.
What they should have done was put in like 50,000, I think like the FBI should have just went, okay, what are we going to offer for reward? Let's put the whole 50,000 in there, and then because that guy's going to grab that, right? He's not going to let 50,000 just sit there. It's $50,000.
Well,
so
the thing about it is it represented what potentially could have been a lead, because if they put something in there and that led to a trace to where they could somehow find, the perpetrator, well, then that would have been well worth telling the family, go ahead and put the money in the account, in the Bitcoin account.
Yeah. I
don't know. Kind of strange.
I don't know. I don't think the FBI screwed up or anything. I just think it's they deal with this stuff all the time, and they needed them to, they could have tried, I guess, fishing with some money thrown in there and to see if they grabbed it. That's about it. But other than that, they probably were thinking, because the thing is, the first two, they asked the ransom people to show proof of life, and they weren't able to do so. And that's why that second Savannah Guthrie video, where she basically said, "We understand now," meaning because you haven't responded, and who knows what was in some of these messages,
Right.
who knows what they said, but she said, "We understand now. We just want our mother back so that we can celebrate her life, and we need to have the peace, so we're willing to pay you money to tell us where she is so that we can have peace and bury her," basically. She didn't say it that way, but that's exactly what she was saying. And every one of the next things that she put on Instagram said exactly the same thing. And the last one was even closer to that.
Right. And so they clearly knew what was on the line. They knew what was riding on the line. The FBI knew what was riding on the line. I mean, I won't beat the dead horse. I just think that it's very strange that the FBI goes to them with what they regard as credible ransom letters, and then when push came to shove, they didn't tell the family, "Well, go ahead and put money in the account."
I think they might have done that if she was alive, but I think when she's not alive, I mean, it should have been up to the family, though. Like, hey, because I could have killed two birds with one stone. You might have gotten where you can find her, and then you might have caught the perpetrator. You know what I mean? Like if they had put $6 million or whatever the hell the number was in the Bitcoin account, so maybe they did, kind of screw up by not at least trying something to engage that ransom person.
I mean, it was clear that the ransom people were saying, "We're setting the terms, we're telling you how we want it done," and then it was obvious that when the FBI coached the family and said, "Well, go to them and tell them you're waiting on them to communicate with you," that the FBI was really trying to lay a trap, and it was obvious all day long. It was almost as if you're trying to match wits with the ransomers instead of just saying, "Let's just go through with their demands, put it in the account, and try to trace them." I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking like that, but I feel like it was an opportunity that was missed.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think but we also don't know what they know. Like we're just sort of, Monday. I'm not sure if that's not the right term, Monday morning quarterback. We're doing it from the limited information that we have. We're making statements, but they might have more information. That is why they acted a specific way and didn't encourage her to send the money in. But it could have been the only and the thing is Savannah said that she thinks they're still were real ransom letters, and you would think, well, then the FBI must have really thought that. But does the FBI still think that? She made it kind of clear. She didn't say we. She said like, I still think it's those are real. Now, maybe later on the FBI said, well, we don't know. But I mean, it was so soon, though. The second is when those demands came out, which is the next day. That seems too soon for like a fake person to be doing that.
I totally agree. Yeah. They were timed out completely as if when you would expect that they would come out.
Yeah, exactly. The next day.
Exactly. Another thing that I thought was interesting, too, is that it was revealed that apparently her footwear was left inside the home, which implied that when she left, she was barefoot. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I thought instantly when I heard that was I thought, okay, well, if you were the ransomer and you wanted to bring someone to a place for a couple days just to make until that ransom was effected, that you might, who knows what situation you'd put them in, but if you intended on returning them alive and you wanted to keep them alive, you would presumably take him to a place where there'd be enough facilities, like a toilet and things like that, or something along those lines, hopefully. But anyway, long story short, that when they apparently didn't take any footwear with her when she didn't have that, to me it almost was reading as if it was suggesting that she wasn't going to be around very long.
Yeah, or they're just trying to get her out of there quick. Maybe some place that they were going to bring her already had slippers or whatever. I'm just thinking. I'm just saying. I don't think she lived. I don't think she was even alive. Let's see. So that was the first. It was early in the morning. So 2 a.m. on the first. 2:30, whatever. And then it's all the way 20 something hours later, and then the next day is when these ransom letters came in, probably midday-ish, or maybe morning. So you could almost say 30 hours later, the ransom note came in. And I don't think she was still alive at that point. That's why they weren't able to prove that she was alive even on the first ransom note. Wouldn't you have done that? As soon as somebody replied, you go, yeah, here's a picture. But they didn't do anything. I don't think she was still alive. Even then.
And that was the other thing that I think was so difficult for me to wrap my mind around, is that, so if you were the FBI and you told the family, listen, we need proof of life, we can't do anything unless we have proof of life, that you're putting them into a corner because you're insisting that they have proof of life when Nancy could very well have been dead.
Yeah, well, how
are they going to produce proof? Go ahead.
Well, that's the whole point, though. The FBI is like, hey, show us proof of life, and they can't do it.
It just.
I know it's weird, but the problem is Nancy was very frail. She looked like she was sort of stronger. Physically. I don't know how to really explain it, but she was very on the edge. She has to have everything really calm, and just sort of she's on blood thinners, on heart medicine, and just they didn't know that part about Nancy. They just knew that it was this old lady. That's maybe the mom of Savannah. She's really old, and we're just going to get her and take her out. They didn't realize how frail she was, and just you've seen people when they die of a heart attack from being scared about something. They go, or there's some event happens and somebody dies, even though it isn't like a bomb blows up and 2 people die of heart attacks, right? So she's probably somebody that the trauma from what happened. And I wouldn't even think, whatever it is that made her bleed has nothing to do with why she died, in my opinion. I think she died because of the stress and the situation she was in. It just killed her,
It's very possible. It's extremely possible. I just think about images, when Savannah was painting those images about what her mother must have seen, and for that woman to wake up in the middle of the night and seeing that, it tears my heart out. It's one of the reasons why I have focused on this case to the degree that I have. But beyond that, there's a couple other things that I wanted to talk with you about. And one of them was, so it was led on. Well, first of all, I'll just ask, do you agree or do you believe that there was blood inside the house?
Yeah, well, that's what they said. That's what...
Okay, all right.
It was... who said that?
I know Banfield.
Yeah, Banfield.
Her sources said that.
Yeah, she said, I believe... she's been accurate on just about everything she said.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay. So one thing that was interesting about that is that, and I'm just putting this out there because it seems like I've heard this hinted about, but I just, maybe you can correct me if you know more or if you know it's incorrect. But long story short, I did not hear anything from Savannah today that when they were talking about her walkthrough in the home or the family's walkthrough, that they did mention that there was blood on the front porch.
Well, she just
but
said
they
a minute
never
ago.
mentioned.
She just said that a minute
Go
ago.
ahead.
She said when they found the blood and everything when they got there. I just played that like a few minutes ago.
And I wasn't listening in, so I didn't hear that. But didn't she specify though that it was out on the porch?
Yeah, that's what she. Well, let's see. I think she said that, like blood out on the porch.
And I'm not listening in right now to avoid it in the phone, so I can't hear it. By the way.
Well, I know you can't. I know you couldn't. You couldn't hear it. I was just trying to see. I don't know. I don't remember exactly the terminology, but it's not. I mean, we can't hold everybody to go. Well, when I went to the house, we saw blood inside the foyer, and then outside on the thing, and then go through the whole litany. She's just having a conversation, and she's just saying, "Yeah, and there was blood out on the porch." Probably because that's the one that everybody has seen a million times, and also she probably doesn't want to give any credit to Ashley Banfield's reporting because she's mad at her. Who knows?
So
I'm just saying.
reason why I brought that up, and this is only so that you could correct me on this part of it, and that is that, so I believe that I have heard that when the detective showed up, that the blood was not apparent on the inside until they brought out the luminol, and that the luminol revealed the blood by the front door.
Where you're not saying that when they put the tent there they were doing luminol, right?
No, I'm saying that before. So when the detectives first showed up on the scene and they were trying to determine if Nancy had wandered off or not, that they were going around the house and making determinations about whether or not she could have. And when they apparently walked down the hallway to the front door, that obviously they saw the blood on the front porch. But the question is whether or not that blood was apparent on the inside of it, because certainly that might have led them to different thinking.
Yeah, I think it was always visible. I think they saw it the whole time. They just listen. The only reason we know about the drops of blood are because Ryan Etten went down there and filmed something. We go, oh, look at that. He didn't get to go inside the house. So all those drops of blood, Nano said from the beginning that, evidence inside the house, it looks like she was abducted. So they could see it. And I don't even know if they used luminol, it was inside, because they didn't use any luminol on the porch. All right, because you can see it sitting there.
That's what I was meaning.
Yeah, but inside the home, they might not have needed to use luminol either, because you can see it. So they might have used it to get even the finer, look around to see if there was any other blood at any other point. But it's the same pattern, just dripping of blood that starts right there in front of the door, and then goes out onto the. And it could just be like, if she just barely nicked her nose or something, even in the room, and it wasn't even that bad because of her blood thinners and whatnot. It just sort of started to bleed and then build up, and then it started to finally drip out of her mouth right when she got to the door. But even though it's not a huge wound, it's just she's bleeding because of the blood thinners. I mean, if she was I think probably a person that didn't have blood thinners and had the same wound, like in her, not really a wound, just something inside of her nose or whatever, it wouldn't bleed anywhere near that much. But it is with her. That's why when you're taking blood thinners like that, they really are concerned. If you notice those huge bruises she has, you can just nick your arm and it looks like you got hit by a baseball bat. It's crazy. Yeah.
I also heard that based on the evidence, the blood spatter evidence that they would have taken, that they could detect whether amylase was in that, and therefore from that they could tell whether it was a cough or that it was coming from, a cough maybe that first started in the mouth and then came up through the nose.
I think it looks exactly like a cough. I mean, you have different people out there. Baden says it's expirated. So does Joseph Scott Morgan and a couple other people. And then there's like 2 or 3 people lately that say it's satellite blood, meaning there's a pool of blood and another drop hits it and then makes these other, fine misting. That part doesn't make sense to me when I look at it. But who knows? Maybe they're right. I don't believe it.
Well, that they'll know, though, one way or the other if there's amylase in it, because that'll tell you whether, because, for example, if there's no amylase in it at all, then it could be like a nick off the nose, or it could be skin torn off of a wrist, or whatever.
Yeah, but either way, it would have had to still been in like a mouth to create that fine, sort of low velocity spatter where it's like this fine misting in a concentrated area and then it sort of spreads out. Like, I really don't see how that would work if it just drips off your arm and then all of a sudden there's this misting off at an angle. I don't know. I went through it all last night on the show.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I'm not a blood pattern expert myself. I've just seen different accounts of it where they say that you can get that skeletalized pattern that moves off of it when it drips onto the same spot of blood. But again, I'm not any expert. All I know is that the FBI, having taken samples from that, if there's amylase in that blood, they will know that it came out of the mouth. I mean,
yeah, like any mucus or whatever, just anything in your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what's interesting about that is so that if the FBI did the test and they detected amylase, then they would instantly know that she probably was bent over coughing in that area or something similar to that.
Well, I think that they know that, and that's why they think that she was still alive and that she was abducted for ransom. That's why they say that, because they know that she was alive when she's leaving the front door. If you didn't see any of that and you just saw blood, you might just think, oh, they removed her body and it was dripping blood or something, if that's all you saw. But they don't say that because they can tell that she's still alive when she left the front door area. That's my opinion on how they're doing that.
The other thing, too, that's interesting about this is that, so apparently the ransom letters were written in such a way that were fairly sophisticated, and obviously setting up something like a Bitcoin wallet, or that if you had to set that up so that you could process it through multiple countries, that would require some level of sophistication to do that, as well as that if you're going to send in a tip through an email at, say, KOLD or TMZ, and that you would know that, okay, the FBI is going to go into servers around here and try to sniff around and see where this came from, that they would have had to be sophisticated enough to set up, a VPN or multiple VPNs to go through multiple areas so that it looks like it wasn't nearby. Just pointing out the fact that they had to be fairly sophisticated, and they certainly would want to be if they're taking out this woman and they're going to be asking for this amount of money. So it leads me to believe, just based on those things, that it had to be.
That was weird. My throat just went, and I what's weird is I can't even burp in real life. Like, when you guys drink like a Coke and you can go like that or whatever, and then
and you can't, huh?
No, yeah, I've never been able to. But every once in a while, something comes out, and I'm like, wait, how'd that happen? But I don't know how to do it. I don't even know how to figure out how to do it.
I guess I need to call in more often then.
Yeah, you could. Hey, whenever I drink a lot of like Coke or something that has like carbonation, I'll just call you up and just start, whatever. I don't know. That was weird though. That was cool. Yeah. Anyways,
so with the level of sophistication that I was talking about, and it does seem that based on the fact that they have produced these. Or should we say, if we just go with one person, that one person produced these 2 ransom letters, that they had a good deal of sophistication. And then not only on top of that, but then we factor in that apparently they were good enough to mask a digital footprint. So they were able to really understand several things, apparently, that still leaves them free right now. And so I guess all that being considered, if it really is true, do you think that they really plan this out well, and they thought that they spent a lot of time trying to mastermind this and think out the variables?
I think it's a lot better than more than people are giving him credit for. I have to admit, I was one of the people that was like, God, that's so stupid. They're using a plant to put it over. And then because of that, we're just saying how stupid this person is, right? But are they really stupid? I mean, they're a shitty human. I'm just saying, did they really not plan this? Take out the part about the plant. Wow. I mean, they go in there with the balaclava on. They removed Nancy Guthrie. They drove away, and nobody has a clue where the hell she is right now. So you got to think that they did plan it a hell of a lot better than people assume they did because, when I say they, I think it's a one person.
I knew what you meant.
Well, no, but you can say they for an individual. Like, hey, when did Joe come over? Well, they came over at about 5, So.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason why I'm trying to get your perspective on that is because as much as I have looked at this and really studied the ins and outs, that after a while you kind of walk away feeling that they really did plan this out well.
Yeah.
It comes off that way. I mean, particularly when you think about, I'll be honest, I'm an educated person, but if you said to me right now, do I know how to go and set up Bitcoin accounts and that would be evasive of law enforcement? No, I don't. And it would probably take me some time to figure out how to do that.
Well, you could probably these days just open up ChatGPT and ask it, and it'll give you exactly how to do it. So it's not hard these days. So you really could do it. Don't get any ideas. Don't get any ideas, Jason. Don't get any ideas. Jason Bourne.
So anyway, the point is that I'm getting at is that it being this sophisticated, this well planned, they had to think and they then could be one or two people, but whomever this was had to think to themselves, I have to have this thing go off without a hitch. I can't have anything mess up on me. And particularly this would be even more relevant if you were just one person, because you don't have a lookout at that point. So you really have to be on, you have to have everything dialed in perfectly. You can't have any surprises because you're not going to know, you're not going to have anything that's going to really help you to know what's going on. I mean, someone could say, well, you could have a scanner, but there's no guarantee that there was a reception that was necessary to make that scanner effective, or even that you'd want the volume up to have it squawking, in a quiet environment.
Yeah.
But so where I'm going with that is that if you are really scoping it out well and you're saying, okay, I can't have any hitches, I can't have anything that's going to stop me from doing this, now you have to come down to the point to where you're left with two options as a single person. And the two options are that either A, you go up there and you subdue Nancy, and then you go and you get the car and you bring her out and you put her in the car.
Well, I think the car was put there before they even went into the house. That's where I'm going.
Right. Or B, that you put the car up there and then you go into the house and bring her out. So, I mean, it's either that someone would leave Nancy alone in the house and go and get the car and bring it.
Yeah, you have to tie her up or something. You have to tie her up. Mm-hmm. It's still easy to do.
And that's the only two options.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, the same thing. Yeah, it was just like, you could have left her in the house and went out. Like you could have gone in the house at 2:12, confronted her at like 2:14, and then in the backpack you have stuff to tie her up, her hands and things, and maybe tie her to a chair and whatnot, and then you go out and get the car. That just seems less likely to me. It seems like I think I'd be nervous leaving somebody alone just for a moment. Like
so would I.
So I think it's just more like they pulled the car up at like 2:10, go around the back 2:12. The camera picks a shot of them. They go inside the home. Before they go, maybe they prop the doors open or door when they were entering, and just for an easy escape. Then go in and confront her, and then, they just take her out the front door right around like 2:28-ish, That's when she's gone out.
But here's the thing about this is that, so in the one instance, just hypothetically, in the one instance where the person has to tie her up to the chair and go away and get the vehicle, that in that instance he can quickly go in and get her, and that only literally would take him a very short amount of time.
Yeah, so he could have tied her up, and then after that goes and props the door open, and then goes and gets the car.
But or we could go with the other route that you just said. But where I'm going with this is that, so the one, like you had said, requires that if you're going to walk away from the place, number one, you're going to have to feel very confident that Nancy can't somehow do something to alert that nothing bad would happen. But if you go with option number 2, we have the vehicle now parked out there for 15 minutes. And you don't have anybody looking out for you. So what this means is that for this crime to go off perfectly means that you're kind of taking a chance, especially if you don't have a scanner, that nobody is going to come and show up. Because if they pin you in that driveway with your vehicle sitting there out in front, like, you will be running out the back, but you're kind of like dead in the rights with your vehicle sitting out there for a period of time. So follow me through on this. So if it's
I know, but I know I will follow you. But we've gone through the other theory where he's done all the stuff inside, then he has that walkie-talkie in his pants, then he calls somebody and they pull up the car. Is that where you're going with the next one?
Right. Yes, sir.
I'm just saying because we brought up that one I think yesterday too. All right. I know that you wanted to throw it out there, but I wanted to let you know that we came up with that one too. That means the car is only there for like a minute,
Right.
From a hidden position.
And the only reason why I'm saying in my mind that sounds attractive if you're the person who's trying to do this is that you don't want any hitches. You don't want anybody surprising you because you got all this ransom money riding on the line. I mean, this is a big deal. This isn't some simple job where you're, going to get some small payday. This is the big honcho deal, and you gotta have all your ducks in a row, and for you to go in there and have that car sitting out there. And here's the other thing too, is so that, let's say that you go in there, you don't know what you're going to run into, but your car is parked out there. I mean, it's lucky that it only takes you 15 minutes, but you could run into many different things because you don't know what you're going to encounter, but yet your car is still there. It makes more sense to me that if you really wanted to make sure that you didn't have a hitch, you would only bring that car up the driveway when you knew she was ready to go, because that means that you could quickly get her in there and boom, you're gone. Right. Otherwise you could get, if a cop comes up that road or he somehow got alerted or whatever the case is and pulls in the driveway and the car's sitting there, you're toast.
But we're still, but the one thing I wish we could eliminate too is that the 16 minutes is even kind of that's a long time in reality. Like
it is
212 to 228. So sometimes I'm thinking, I want it to be where the camera, the one shot at 212, I think in the backyard camera is the one. If that's the camera, I'm pretty sure it is the one that picked him up at 212. That's the one that bothers me because if he's still lingering around in the backyard. That camera, it seems like it would keep picking him up multiple times, like 212 and then 214, whatever, but I want him to be entering the home at like 220, right? And then he goes in there and he just quickly gets on the phone. Hey, I got her. Let's go. Boom. And the car pulls up and they're out of there. But like, what in the hell are you doing in those 16 minutes? Even then. Now, that's me assuming that at 212 is when he entered the home because the camera picks up a body at 212. And if it's the back camera, that means that it has to be the one, there's one right above the pool house there that filmed the yard there, right where the two doors are. So that has to be the one, if, that picked him up at 212 and it recorded a motion. And so that would be likely that's when he entered the home, right? Because if they entered the home at 2:20, it would have, or like 1:50 or something. That's when it would have gone off at that time. So it's kind of a frustrating thing. I'm just trying to figure out the whole 16 minutes because that it used to be 41, but I've reduced it to 16.
And he would have to give himself some time because he's not considering, like, let's say if it's dark inside the house, he gets in there, he doesn't know the layout of the house, and he doesn't necessarily know where Nancy's bedroom is at in the house. And so he's got to creep around in there to figure out what's going on. And I highly doubt that she would have been up or would have heard him with her hearing, as bad as it was. So it probably took him a little bit to find out where she was. And who knows, he may have spent some time breaking out the lights, the floodlights in the backyard, which would have added a little bit more time to it. But regardless, you would think that it would have to be a quick operation because in his mind, especially if he was alone, theoretically, he knows that vehicle's sitting out there the whole time. If that was me, I'd be thinking like, oh my God, that vehicle's sitting out there. Like this is a red flag, especially if there was some neighbor or some nosy person that came around that knew the vehicles that were around the neighborhood, typically because they lived in there and they saw that vehicle sitting out there and like, what's that vehicle doing out there at this time of the night, And not that would happen, not that some neighbor even could have a view of, there was no neighbor even that could have a view of her if there was a vehicle sitting there from any direction. Is that true?
Yeah, there's no cameras that film anything. It's like,
so
I don't think many cameras in the neighborhood actually film the streets at all. If they do, it's just sort of through the trees and like a crazy angle or something. Mainly these are for people around the home, Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other thing too that I thought that came out that I thought was interesting, and we touched on it briefly, was the bare feet again, because I'm thinking of myself that if it was one person and he's got the gun on her and she's got these bare feet, that now she's going to be walking across that gravel. And I mean, she's already, as Savannah has described her, somebody that would be lucky to make the mailbox on a good day. And now she's in terror, bleeding, and in pajamas, and have this gun pointed at her. And I mean, I suppose, physically, that if someone's got a gun pointed at you, that you're going to do what you're told and you're going to find a way to make it across that gravel. But it leads me to believe that the amount of time that it would have taken for him to patiently escort her down the walk, that would have been at least 30 seconds, you would think, with the way that she moved.
I mean, the blood's just dripping straight down,
Mm-hmm. And if it's 30 seconds from the porch to the car, I mean, if you've got millions of dollars riding on the line here, you're wanting to make this quick. Like, you're wanting to go from the house to the car in seconds. And if it takes you a long time, that's bad news, because that's time that you're out in the open where you could be seen walking this little old lady.
But it's still less than the 16 minutes. If you called on the radio, the guy pulls up. Even if it takes you 30 seconds to get down that walkway, it's still better than the 16 minutes that the car just sat there.
Right, that's true. Yeah. But if there's two people, once you introduce two people, you could get her from the porch to the car very quickly. There would be no delay, hardly any delay. The other thing that really strikes me about this, Gray, is that for someone to say, I'm going to go do this crime, you're going to have kahunas of steel. And I'm not saying it's not possible, because we look at Kohberger, and Kohberger walked into a house of 4 people and killed them all. And he didn't have anybody to help him. So, I mean, it can be done, but it takes a certain personality that I think is It just seems more feasible that it would be two people, but I could still see how it could be one person.
Yeah, I think. But you're a minute ago. You were saying if there was two people, it'd be quicker to get her down the.
I do think so. Sure,
yeah, but the thing is that the blood doesn't match being quickly moved. It's just straight down droplets. You know, like if she was being quickly whisked, you might have an angle, not huge angle, but there'd probably be an angle on the blood when it hit the ground.
Yeah, it wouldn't. It couldn't be too swift because then it would show the trajectory of the blood.
Yeah, so either way, if there was two people, they went slow anyways. So if you're going slow anyways, then you could just do that with one person with a gun on somebody, telling them, "Hey, let's go."
Yeah, in other words, you wouldn't be remarkably faster.
Right. So there's no point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a point like, "Hey, let's do it." But the thing is right now we have zero evidence that there's another person, and except for maybe theorizing on how something might work, and then every single thing that's been done in this case could be done by one person that we've seen so far. Every bit of it. That's it. So
he's going to come behind her as she goes out the door. Is that right?
I think he just kind of I guess the one inside opens up inward, and he opens that up, and he's got her, and and then the next door opens outwards. I think the one outside.
Mm-hmm,
I'm pretty sure it does. And then she goes. He's just sort of got her arm and kind of helping her out. It's not like people make it seem like it's so difficult. It's like when you got those huge, wide, those front doors like that, it's not difficult at all. Even if you're slightly behind them or slightly in front of them, kind of helping them get out the door. I don't know. To me, it just seems, and I think he was always to the right of her. That's why he never stepped on blood. And Nancy's not going to step on blood because it's her own blood. I think if anybody out there did a little test and you walked and you just sort of turn your head down and you start dripping blood, something that's sort of like blood out of your mouth, you're not going to step on it. It's going to land on your foot, and then the parts that don't hit your foot hit the ground as an individual droplet, and then you just keep moving. You're not behind it.
So right. So what's fascinating about that, particularly if it's expirated blood, and what that means is that her feet had to be nearby, couldn't have been too far away from where the expirated blood pattern is.
Yeah, when I look at the pictures, there's all kinds of gaps in there where her foot could have been.
There's voids. Yep.
Tons of voids. It's not like it's. People make it sound like, well, there's no voids. How come there's no? What do you mean? That's all there is, almost.
There are voids.
It's all over the place.
There are voids. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I look at your recreations, and I just think that you do a great job, and I've been watching you put together the floor plan there and seeing that come together. It was almost giving me chills because I was looking at it, and I was thinking yep, they came in through that door right there, and they went this direction, and they went there, and, it's almost eerie once you can kind of start figuring out what they did when they were in the house,
Yeah. We're missing a bunch of footage. I wish we had the interior design and just a walk-through video of inside the home. That would be so useful. You see what I'm saying?
I did look around for it. I dug and dug. I couldn't find anything. I was going to send you something if I could find it, and there was nothing out there at all that I could find anyway.
Yeah. Let's see.
But anyway, go ahead.
Oh no, I didn't have anything else.
Yeah, but I want to compliment you on the work that you do, and I don't think that you get the exposure that you should, and I don't understand why, because I'll tell you, compared to the other sources that are out there,
I can't tell you. I don't know why either. It's just there's something that you got to do. You got to pretend to be. I don't know what it is with YouTube. I have no idea.
Do you think that it is, Gray, that there's some people who don't like hard reality and they actually like fantasy and they like to be enamored with things that potentially are very speculative, that are that kind of people.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people out there that just like wild speculation and just every theory counts. Every theory is as good as the next one. Oh, they go great, and it just isn't. Like sometimes you can just discern whether or not something makes sense, you know. So
it was funny. I was watching in the comments the other day, and I think someone had mentioned the Epstein files or something similar to that, and you had politely reminded the person that that's not something that this channel engages in. And I was thinking to myself, like, I wish there were so many other channels that would do that, because there's so many, I think, that are out there for profit and just want to, you know, encourage anyone to say anything and not check them if it's wrong. And that's really disrespectful to the family, in my opinion, you know, when they're going through this and you're letting them be running in the mud. When
my thing is, I don't really care. Like, I don't care if somebody wants to, like, if a channel's making money, you know, like, it's just the way it is. But I don't like it when they're putting out just provably bullshit, you know, like just, hey, maybe this, and then they just go on and on and on, and it gets everybody excited. That's what bugs me. I don't like, there's these people, they're not really, it's not true crime, it's garbage, you know, and it shouldn't even be put in the same category. It's crazy.
You nailed it. Yep. So I want to thank you for that work that you do to bring credibility to this field, because there's a lot of families out there that really do suffer. And you know, when we watch that video, we see that look on her face. It drives home the point that these are real people behind these tragedies. And it's just so thank you so much for that work that you do, and you know, because you're honoring these people by that work that you do.
Yeah, and we also give tons of money back to, I know I spend a lot of, like on my shows, I spend time trying to raise the funds and whatnot, because we give away thousands of dollars. So I feel like what my channel is good at is we put out the cases factually, give a place for people that brains actually work to show up to, and then we give thousands of dollars away to various true crime related charities. So we make a huge difference. And yet still again, YouTube just goes, yeah, whatever, Gray. And everybody else gets the thousands of people watching nonsense. Like, it's just, they have these channels that have, like, what do you call it? Like, for a panel up there of, quote, experts. And when you listen to it, you just go, man, this is just one platitude after platitude, no sort of creative thinking about the facts and how it all goes together. And it gets really frustrating watching everybody so excited, listening to just pure drivel, you know. But hey, it just is what it is.
Yeah, and boy, they're making a lot of money off of it right now, and I know that's why they're doing it. They're like, this is a gold mine.
Well, I wish that I had the viewers where then I wouldn't have to care that much for the people to actually be supporting my channel. It's like the people watching hopefully everyone realizes the significance of what we do, and that's why they're supporting it. But it'd be great if it was like mainly ad revenue from so many people watching. You know, that'd be great. But it's not that way, so it is what it is.
Are the analytics telling you anything as to why yours aren't getting your videos aren't getting great exposure? Is it like telling? Is it saying anything?
No, it doesn't ever say anything at all. When you ask, they go, you know, there's like a help place. Then you chat with these people that seemingly are like a robot, because they say the same thing. Wow, I understand how you feel. Yeah, it's like, man, I just go yada yada yada. Can we get to the, you know? And they just say, well, here's a few links, you know, and check these out, and it's just nothing, you know. It's never. No
I'll
answers.
just put an idea. And I'll just put an idea out there. I know that you have been doing this a long time, and you've covered a lot of different angles. But one common thing that I see is that when, you know, people kind of like really put a lot of content out there, which you do, which is great, because it's something that to build a channel, a person has to consistently put out content. But maybe like a short earlier in the day that is going to say something about what you're going to do, you know, where it prompts somebody that, hey, I've got a video that's going to be coming tonight.
Yeah, they tell you that. They tell you to do shorts all the time. You mean just like, hey, tonight we're going to be discussing this, man. Check it out. Now, here's what, and give a little bit of something, then go, right? Maybe something like that.
Yep.
It's not hard to do.
To get more.
It's not hard.
And you got a great voice, and you've got, the content that drives people. I mean, in my opinion, you do. That when I look at the titles to what you're going to be covering, I always think like, oh, this is going to be great, because you know what people want to watch. So I think it's just kind of getting it out there. And I'm just putting an idea out there as far as a short, but I think it might help, give you a little bit more exposure.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea. And I think I wish what I should do is do, like, even though people don't watch them that much, but if I did more videos too, like videos, people, like sometimes what I'll do is I do my show at night and then the next day make a video kind of on the same stuff, and then, but then it's like 15 or 20 minutes, Yeah.
Well, if I was going to do a short, and again, I'm not a YouTube creator, but if I was going to do a short and I was going to be thinking, well, how can I do this short that's going to really make somebody want to tune in? Like, why will they want to watch my video? I'm going to put some kind of teaser in there that's going to make them think like, I have to watch that to find out what he's going to do. What is he going to say? Something that is an incentive for them to trigger them to want to watch, and I know sometimes things can sound clickbaity, which is never good at all because that can actually kill traffic, so it's a double-edged sword there, but just ideas, because I want to see it succeed. It's great content and it just deserves more recognition.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And just let you know, Karen in the chat, she just loves you call in. Even if we say the same stuff that we've already said, man, it's the greatest call in the world. So, Karen, you've got a fan in Karen out there. Everybody likes your calls, too, by the way.
Well,
I like them.
Wonderful. That just tickles me.
I think it's cool.
The chat.
Well, I think it's kind of cool because it's like it's just sort of having a regular conversation with somebody that thinks logically instead of just having just mindless. I mean, a lot of people that called in are good thinkers, but I'm just saying, what I've heard, for example, there's a guy that has 3 letters for his name that does live streaming at the scene, who's a criminal. He actually, when his callers call in, they are some of the dumbest calls I've ever heard. I mean, they're just like almost insane, these people. I don't even know. It's almost like who can be the craziest on the next call. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works.
And so I know the chat is listening, so some of the people in the chat will recall this particular quick story, but for others who are fresh to hearing me on the call, I'll just relay a very quick story about my introduction to Gray and how I came to enjoy the channel so much. But as the story goes, I had been studying the Guthrie case for many weeks on end and going through many sources, and I kept coming to various conclusions that I was finding that all my sources were not reaching my conclusions. And I kept thinking to myself, this is insane. How could these people go down these roads, these ways of thinking that obviously are not highly probable at all, but they keep talking about it as if it is. And after a while, I began to question my own reasoning.
Yeah.
And I began to say, well, is there something wrong with me that I'm not getting this? And lo and behold, one day I stumbled across this 3D animation video, and it happened to be Gray's. And I watched it. I was like, this is pretty good. This is great. And I actually didn't pay real close attention to who the creator was at that time because I was looking through several other pieces of content. But later that day, I found Gray again. Actually, it was that evening, and he just so happened to have the number up to call in. And I didn't know Gray's channel. I hadn't studied his prior videos. I didn't know any of his prior views. I just saw this number, and I thought, oh my goodness, now I can finally call in and talk to somebody and explain to them what's going on as far as my theories and see if I can make any connection with someone. So I called in, and Gray kindly let me have the space for quite a few minutes, and he would interject here, interject a little bit there, and finally, after I said my piece, he said, well, James, that's what we've been saying here since the beginning. And I was dumbfounded. I kind of said, well, I was like, what? No, James, we've been talking about all these things. Everything that you said, these are things that we've been breaking. I was thinking, like, my God, I found a home somewhere.
But like even tonight, right? Like we've talked about those things, but I don't have them in a short a form where people can easily digest them. That's the problem. Like all the things that we talked about earlier, we've come up with, the different theory angles. Maybe there was a walkie-talkie for the car to pull up right as he's exiting, kind of thing, and different things. But I don't have videos where I put it all together in a sort of a form where it's 15 minutes long and everybody goes, okay, bing, 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 like that. Instead, it's spread out over hours and hours of talking. So, but it's cool that you have, you think similarly. I like that.
Yeah, I feel like I finally found a channel that says we go off of the evidence. We don't go down roads that, have no probability of, anything. And I just want to compliment the channel, and you just do a great job, and I would be glad to call back again at some time if you're glad to have me.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. I mean, hopefully we do a whole bunch of different cases, too, so you should check in on some of the other ones, too.
That's the thing. I'm going to wonder about what I do after this. I mean, I don't know if the Nancy Guthrie case is going to be solved anytime soon, but gosh, if it is, I'd hate to say goodbye because the talent here is great,
but we do every time there's the bigger cases, and we cover all these random ones. Sometimes cold cases go over all the newspaper articles and stuff, and those are interesting too. But then there's these bigger cases that happen, and I do the same thing on those, and this is the place you're going to want to show up again. I mean, are you a true crime person, or is it just sort of the Nancy Guthrie case that got
my background is in psychology, Gray, and so the human mind has always fascinated me, and it's what I went to training for, it's what I went to school for. And so when people have behaved in abnormal ways in our society, that has always been something that has been fascinating to me, and particularly when it is in violent ways, because it's so destructive to our society when these things happen. And, I always, one of my things that I always think about is what is the environment that built this individual? And I like to work it all the way back from childhood. What did this person experience? What did they go through? And how did they eventually reach a point in their life where they told themselves that owning a gun for violent purposes was okay? But somehow they did reach that level of reasoning in their life where they told themselves that this was a necessary thing that was used to effect a crime, apparently, and it's amazing how people get to that level, but it's an entirely different subject. But it does relate to true crime often because people will use guns and all kinds of things to inflict violence.
Yeah.
And I think that there's what's interesting to me, just as a side note, is that so I understand when there's crimes of passion. Say, for example, if an ex-husband does something to his ex-wife, or, there's relation where there's blood and people know each other, then I can understand when people do things that might be violent. But when you talk about something predatory, for example, like Koberger, where I've not heard of any indication that he ever had a personal relationship with those individuals, so that when you have someone that goes into an environment like that and doesn't know that person at all, you're talking about a mind that, is totally disassociated from empathy of other people. And there's no great reasoning for it because they're not related at all. They don't have any blood. So what triggers someone to go off in such a way to create such great harm.
Well, it's like that's what the serial killers, you know. I mean, it's just like they don't even know the person. It's just that's what they want to do, you know. And there's probably a reason they have in their mind, but they're psycho, you know, complete psychopaths.
Yeah, the Richard Ramirez, he was a character that I, did study a little bit, and I never got seriously into true crime, but I did, study Richard Ramirez a little bit. Typically you see that these people do come from pretty harsh environments, and so I do think there's something involved there with the abuse part and the lack of empathy toward other people, that somehow they get mirrored this in their environments. Some of them do anyway, and they then tell themselves it's okay to abuse other people.
Yeah.
So, but Koberger, what a twisted case there. My goodness, that must have been something when you were investigating that one.
Oh, yeah, I did that one for 2.5 years. I actually went there 3 times to where the crime scene is. You probably would have loved those. I mean, I drove the exact route that he drove his car around, even up behind the building.
Wow.
I would park the car, had a camera on my windshield. I made a 3D model of the entire house where I could walk around and everybody could tell exactly where we were, and everybody knew the house really well. And then he pleads guilty. And it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I had it all ready to go, man. We were just so ready to do the trial and everything. And it just, it sucked how that went down.
So they were on the same university, right? They were on the same campus. Is that true?
No, he was on he was on Washington State University. And then the girl, the 3 girls and, Ethan Chapin were on Moscow, Idaho. So it's a different school. So they were on, I think the Idaho State University, and then University of, or Washington State University, and they're right next to they're 8 miles away from each other. So he was a doctoral student at Washington State University, and just somehow got enamored with that house and killed those people. I think he might have just went there to kill one, and then there happened to be 2 girls in the same bed, and then he killed both of them, and then one of the other girls heard the noise, and he chased her down and killed her, and then Ethan Chapin happened to be in the same room that she was in. So it could be that's how it went down. I don't think he went there to kill all 4 of them.
Was there any evidence that he ever knew anyone in that household?
They never produced any evidence that he knew anybody.
Did you have any suspicions that he did?
Well, we did. We thought maybe that, he went to the Greek. His phone one time connected to the Wi-Fi at the Greek or Mad Greek restaurant, and 2 of the girls worked there, but that could just happen. When you're driving by, your phone, it didn't connect. It found it, like it just sort of, as it's driving by, it found that network at some point. Doesn't mean that you ever went in or anything. There really isn't any evidence of that we've seen. So
it's just very interesting that someone would go to that length, even if it was just for one individual, that they didn't know that person at all. Like, why would they go to that particular house? It's just very strange.
Well, because he's not normal. Like, he's just, I think he's slightly, he was slightly autistic and a psychopath. I actually looked it up, that there's rare times where you get both of those. And it's crazy. It's like, you read it, and he's really awkward, and just, I don't know.
Dahmer might have been a little bit like that.
Yeah, he could have been. Yeah, exactly. Well, I've seen Dahmer, and you ever watch the Stone Phillips interview with Dahmer on YouTube?
I believe I did. It's been a while, but I believe I did.
Yeah, people got to watch that one.
Yeah.
That thing is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Is that where he looked like he was almost sedated a little bit?
No, he was sitting there with his dad, and then Stone Phillips. They were in the jail, and it was like him and his dad, and Stone Phillips was talking to him. And I remember him talking about, I've really got into God, and the Bible, and then when he's leaving, he goes, "See that box over there? Yeah, that's like the same box that I had that head in that we were talking about earlier. Isn't that weird?" It's like, Jesus, man. That was the craziest thing ever, that whole thing.
Well, it's been a fascinating phone call, and I appreciate your generosity in keeping me on this long, and I'll gladly call in again.
All right, man. Have a good one. And you must be James is your real name, right? Because you slipped it out there.
Well, you can go with Jason James. How does that sound?
We'll just do Jason Bourne, okay? We got it. All right. Have a good one. See ya.
Take care, Gray.
All right, bye.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. I was just goofing around with you, Karen, up there. All right. Yeah, he didn't know him at all. That's what I said. They didn't find anything. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, yeah. Somebody sent me this during the show. So, I mean, look at this. Suspected Gilgo Beach killer Rex Heuermann expected to plead guilty to murdering 7 sex workers. That one's not going to trial either. That thing would have been... I didn't think it was going to make it to trial. This one is so locked up, he has no chance. And it's just too much going on, and you know. But suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann is expected to plead guilty to viciously murdering 7 sex workers in a twisted case that has rocked Long Island for nearly 2 decades. And we've gone over each one of those victims. The hulking Massapequa Park Architects Defense Attorney Michael Brown and the Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney are currently hashing out a plea deal. Of course, why don't we go ahead and get the Koberger crew and, they can go out and try to defend Rex Heuermann, okay, and say he didn't do it, he was coerced. Yeah, so let's see, and it says deal that could see Heuermann, 62, cop, admit to. It's kind of dumb to put the word cop in a story about that has law enforcement in it. 62 will admit to the savage killing at his April 8th appearance. Wow, that's coming right up. In Suffolk County Court, sources told the Post. It's unclear what charges Heuermann could plead to or any specifics of the deal being hammered out. Did they even have the death penalty in New York anyways? I mean, I'm not sure. What does he benefit from? Suspected Gilgo Beach killer Rex Heuermann expected to plead guilty. That's another... I guess the same damn article. What's this one up here? There's somebody named Vicenzo is sending these. Chilling video shows... Oh, yeah, we already seen that. Talking about his college murders with DMV worker. Talking about his college murders. He didn't talk about his murders with DMV worker. Chilling video shows Brian Koberger talking about his college murders with DMV workers. Oh, did they bring up the case with him? I guess I missed that part. I mean, do they actually talk about the case? Like, man, have you guys heard with the workers, as he showed no hints that he had just killed. During the conversation, the worker mentioned how much safer... Oh, I guess I missed that part. The area is compared to her native San Francisco before unknowingly mentioning the murders to that actual killer. I like how small, quiet... Here, is this on YouTube?
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I definitely need
I don't
to
know.
get my license plate changed.
I guess I don't really care.
We should be able to help with that.
That would be weird if you did that.
Of course, I did
see. Are you... Let's see. The deranged killer made small talk with the workers over baseball and their seemingly shared love for the sport. Oh wait, I like how small, quiet, I would say safe, but the whole Moscow thing kind of makes it feel a little less, the worker said as Koberger nodded his head and said, yeah. That is kind of weird, I guess. I'm actually from the East Coast. I'm a Yankees fan. I'm hoping you guys don't catch up. The Mariners, I guess. Koberger, wearing black gloves, filled out the paperwork. Yeah, okay, whatever. Man, all right, so another huge case is now being pled guilty to by Rex Humerman. That case is really fascinating, especially those earlier cases that from the 90s that he actually was, the first one he was convicted of. Or not convicted of, but charged with. I mean, that one I thought was the most interesting. Let's see, what was her name? I have so many in here. These are ones that I was wondering if they were related. Man, that is a huge folder. Here, let's just go out there somewhere. Look how massive that one is. Just huge. So all these pins, all this stuff that you see out here is related to this. But it was the one that was out here. Not the Valerie Mack one. I think it was over. Yeah, there it is. Sandra Castilla. See, she was identified because he left her whole body intact. And she was identified, but it wasn't until recently that there was actually a hair, I believe, at her scene that was the hair from a woman he was dating at the time. Right? But after that, he started to, he would cut their heads off and hands off. And like right here we have a torso, missing head and hands of Valerie Mack. So that was her torso, and then Valerie Mack's head and the rest of her body was found. I think it was over. Wasn't it right down in there? I don't remember exactly. On the beach. Oh, yeah, right there. So her head was found right next to this little girl here, and these two weren't related. This toddler. Here's the weird part about this story is this toddler here, Tatiana Marie Dykes, her mother was found over here too, and that one isn't related to Rex Humerman. That's crazy. So then, there is an Asian male they found there, right here. So I guess the fact that one isn't related, maybe there's more that are just some random killers thinking, what a great spot to dump bodies. Hey, good night, Jason. Yeah, so another pleading guilty. I wonder if it's like, I'm going to plead guilty to these 7 if you don't charge me ever again with any others. That would be something he might be able to do. I just don't know what I guess it's just like, maybe it'll cut him, give him something better in jail or something. What do you guys think? Why is he pleading guilty? Yeah, I think the Asian's related. I'm just saying, now that toddler and the other head found down there isn't related, that's kind of strange. Is there a death penalty? No. See, New York doesn't even have a death penalty. So, what is he? There's no leverage there. Is it just about, yeah, I mean, they'd have to give him something. Because all he's going to get is life without parole regardless, right? So, for him saving the taxpayer money, does he get to live in a better place or something like that? Who knows? All right. Anyways, you guys find the show interesting? Yeah, she wasn't a sex worker. And we don't know what the Asian guy is. So, we don't know. He was apparently dressed as a female, though. So, maybe it is something to do with that. And he looked up a word associated with Asian males. I remember that search he had. Well, here's what I hope, though. In the plea deal, that they have a hearing where they go over each case in detail. They don't seem to ever do this, though. You know, like, what a frustrating thing that was with in Coburg. I think in this case, they need to make Rex Heuermann say something, but there's no leverage. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, what is there? There's no leverage to get him to say something. Yeah, that's true. It's in New York. He might be out real soon riding subways. Yeah. Big 6'8" guy right behind you on a... All right. Well, anyways, I want to say thanks, everybody, for supporting the channel tonight. Thank you, Marty, for that generous coffee, and also to Phyllis for all your challenges and support there, and then for the other coffee sent by Lisa there. And then we have, let's see, we have Phyllis Watson gifted a membership, then Allie Cake gifted a membership, then we had Wild Bill Wassman gifted a membership, and Missy Six, and then we had Michelle H, then Wild Bill Wassman gifted one, who went to sleep because he's got a fishing tournament coming up, and he pre-fished the area. Hey, whatever you want to call in, Bengal Cat, just let me know and I'll throw up the StreamYard link. I've been using StreamYard to stream lately. I think it's sort of a little bit better and some stuff. I mean, it's not better, it's just, I don't know. It offers other things, like you can record, the shows are being recorded, and then it also, you can create shorts automatically. They have an AI thing. Then Michelle H gifted one, then Allie Cake, then Mary Y a buggin'. Why you buggin'? And then right after that we had We Say Howdy Here, right after Why You Buggin'. And then Phyllis Watson gifted 5. Then we had Equa Cinco, meaning 5 horse or something. And that one. Then we had Wild Bill Wassman gifted a membership. Then Jim Long. Then Phyllis Watson gifted another one. Then Equa Cinco. I probably should get that. If you're still out there, Equa Cinco, maybe send me that. The affidavit on that Kayela guy. Right, then we had Allie Cake, KMTX, KME. And then Phyllis Watson with a cat eye donation. That was amazing. Then we had Timothy Cecil, Allie Cake, Wild Bill Wassman, KME, then Phyllis Watson again with the super chat matching the wave, I think, by Timothy Cecil. And KME, Allie Cake, then Tracy Von Brott. Then Phyllis gifted another membership. Then Allie Cake. Then 5A. Then Scotta Flight. This is that there was like a 10 challenge here. Then Jim Lawn. Then 5A. And then Elizabeth Brown. Tracy Von Brott. Carol Silva. Sandy Will and 58555. She called in too. That was a good call. She did 3 of those in that challenge. And then Phyllis did 10 memberships. So that's like, man, what is that? Like almost like 30 memberships worth. And then I gifted 5. And Lisa Valenzuela, that was at 907. Then Allie Cake at 908. Then Jim Lawn at 912. And then another, I think there was a challenge. I think by Marty's Bar and Grill right around this time. And then Phyllis Watson did 5 more. Then Scott of Flight did 5. And then Jeffrey Siddall. And then Daniel Gosen. Very cool, very cool. All right. Awesome. No, it's kind of hard to get off of the Nancy Guthrie case because it's still happening. It's like it's not solved or anything. It's just sort of in limbo, and I think people... I find it really interesting myself. Just trying to put together even the smallest little piece that goes into the puzzle that might change a thought about something. I think that's interesting. I'm trying to get some other guests on, too. I'm actually trying to get a hold of, I think Sarah Kalin. Remember, she's come on before? And a few different people. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I don't know if they come on the show. I'll just do an interview and post a video on those. And then we can play it again if we want on the show and go over it. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, thanks, everybody. You guys quit typing. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. But who knows what tomorrow will bring. Good night, Karen. Hopefully we got the dogs out enough for you tonight. I need to bring him in here, though. I had, check it out. I had Clancy in the room with me in my office over here, and I have this little bed over there, and I bring him in here, and I look over there, and he's peeing on the side of the bed, the little bed thing. And then I go, no! And then he looked at me like, oh, oops. What am I, okay. And then he just sat there quietly. I wiped it off. It just, I don't know what the hell he's doing. He just marks things. I think what happened was we got him from this lady who breeds Chihuahuas, and we went to the main house, and there must have been 50 Chihuahuas running around. It just smelled really bad. But he was, so they probably were just allowed to do whatever the hell this was way back when they were only like 5 months old. So they're probably allowed to do stuff that other dogs can't do, so it's hard to, get them off of doing. You kind of have to catch him in the middle of going to the bathroom. Yeah, I can show him tomorrow night, Karen. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But they love your little treats that you gave them. That's for damn sure. They eat them. Yeah, well, sometimes they're not really going to the bathroom in the house. They're just marking something. Even though they've all been, neutered and spayed and all that. Yeah. And thanks, mods, for, what Marty just said, for especially, Lisa's putting in some extra work during the daytime with the trolls out there. I've got YouTube working on stuff in the background there. But, we're just trying to, like today I did that live stream, and they like to show up and throw in stuff. They're just throwing out, trying to make me look bad. It's crazy, the stuff that they put. But hey, whatever, man. Whatever floats your boat. We've got it under control. Yeah, but I've left the door open a little bit. I have one of those mosquito net magnet doors. Those are really cool. You guys ever got one of those? Hey, buy one of these, guys. No, they're pretty cool. They're like these magnet two-sided thing, and they sort of snap together. And I leave the door open about a foot or so, and then they just kind of come in and out when they want to. Yeah, or marking, Lisa, or marking. But anyways, thanks to all the mods out there for, having to deal with some of the crap that we get over here. Appreciate it. And thank you all for making a successful night again. We're getting near the end of the month here. We have today, and then we have tomorrow, and then let's see. So let's see, 27, 28, 29. So we only have 4 normal days left after tonight. They're like 1.5 now, maybe 2-ish. Yeah, they're fixed. Where's your dog fixed? I mean, like spayed or neutered. Well, anyways, I gotta get going. It's been another 3 hours and 26 minute show. I don't know if you got that. I was able to find one of those bottles of Red Breast over here, Marty. That stuff's, it's amazing. This one store, they always have these little niche things all over the place. It's crazy. That's why I thought maybe they'd have it. And it was weird about that Red Breast is, that's that one bottle that you sent, I think is like what do you call it? That's their Hallmark bottle. But then they had these other ones in there. One of them was like a $199 bottle Red Breast of something. And then there was another, it was crazy. They had these 3 or 4 different types. Yeah, they love to do that. They just want to mark every single thing that they can mark. You wonder where they get enough pee to mark the 19th plant that you walk by. You think they'd be pretty dehydrated at that point. Anyways, man, this chat's about as dead as a doornail, but we'll see you guys tomorrow. Who the hell knows what tomorrow will bring? All right, so until next time, be safe out there. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, plug rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Grayl's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temper fucking check ya.
I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without a blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send you on a mission to the real truth and
Yeah, so I'll just...
What the hell was that, Mary Lou?
Yeah, what the hell was that, Mary Lou?
Well, I was singing, shut up, John Boy, Timmy, you bastards.
Oh my God. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you for watching Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube, where we cover true crime using logic, reason, and common sense. Oh, and a thing called facts, which isn't very common anymore. Thank you for watching, and as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.
Hey, not bad. Not bad, John Boy. Not bad, man.
Evil can never be dead enough.
And some of you, you make shit up.